moment. And one more second here. Samuel is in the back taking care of that. He'll click that got a button that's about to pop up on your screen. And there you go. You're all set. Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
That was
Okay.
awesome.
All right, thank you, everyone. Good evening. Tonight is Tuesday, August 22nd, and this is the Scituate Select Board meeting. May I have a motion to accept the agenda? So moved by Mrs. Connolly, accepted by Mr. Goodrich. Before I start, I'm going to read our diversity and inclusion statement. The Scituate Select Board is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, or even when there is a disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcome and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. Being that, are there any walk-ins here this evening? A walk-in is someone who's here to speak about something that is not on the agenda. So just take that there. So, okay, I don't see any. So we'll move to the report of administration.
Good evening. A lot to cover tonight. We'll start with our water update. The reservoirs are +1. Last time I updated was +2, and Tech Factory Pond is at +3. Demand for the last week was 1.37. My last update was 1.74, so it's gone down considerably. We ask people to keep conserving. Water is precious. The more we have the summer's over, the more flushing we can do in the fall. Also water related, let the board know we have processed 13 requests for rebates for our water appliance program. We returned $1,499 to Scituate residents who turned it in. Just to remind people, you can replace your less efficient clothes washers, dishwashers, and toilets with ones that are more efficient. Rebate of up to $250 for an energy efficient washer or dishwasher, $150 for a qualifying Smart Sense toilet. Details available on the town website under the water pump. So that's off and running. We have $25,000 budget for that. So stay a little Scotch. So if you want to take advantage of it, please do so as soon as possible. If you go up to the lighthouse, you see that the lighthouse is now wrapped in scaffolding. We're back on track on that. The form contractor was out there today. He's expected to start putting up the forms that we use to pour the concrete later on this week. That'll take several days. The rebar is on site. That is all ready for that concrete. I will have an update on the schedule. Right now, we are still end of October. We're hoping once the contract gets out there, we'll get a better idea and firm up that date. So as we discussed in our last meeting, we're going to be putting on a little thicker dome and one width of bricks instead of two. And then we'll get on the bricks back up. The land room is on schedule. It's been dipped and galvanized. It's back at the contractor facility being put back together. I'll let it be clad and be brought out here. The lighthouse is done and we put back on top, and then the glass we put back in. Lighthouse. Lifeguards, people know lifeguards time to go back to school. The schedule is now as follows. Egypt Beach, the lifeguards are all done. Hammerock, the lifeguards are finished. Minot will be this weekend, August 25th. Peggy, the lifeguards will be there until Labor Day. Recreation fall brochures on the recreation webpage. Registration open August 31st at 9 a.m. This Friday, I think one of our best events, one of our most fun events, is the annual Touch a Truck, the DPW, out front here at the town hall from 9 to 11. That's a free event. We have popcorn and drinks, and all our equipment will be here. So the kids like trucks, bring it down. So again, great event. We love it. So I hope everybody comes down and has a good time on Friday. National Grid is in town. You'll see them. They're all over the place. They are doing work on primary lines to clear them. We ask you to be cautious driving around town as those crews are out and about. Route 3 water main contractor is still working. Get an update on that from Steve tonight. Steve Rafferty is part of that project. But this week you will see some crews on Stearns Meadow. We'll be doing some tree clearing. About the trees should be out there identifying trees greater than 12 inches in diameter. And next week we'll be out there doing perk tests for the septic system and for the stormwater basins. So a lot of work going on out there. I'm gonna kind of let that go to Steve to give me a much better update later on. Mass DOT's on Chief Justice Cushing Highway, around 666 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, right up the street from the town hall. We're doing patching, paving, and some repairs on drainage structures. They were there last night. They'll be there again tonight, weather dependent. They'll be there between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. We will have temporary lane closures, so please watch out for police officers, follow the directions. The Dana Farber mammography ban will be in Scituate on September 12th from 7:30 to 3 p.m. 7:30 a.m. 3 p.m. at St. Luke's Episcopal Church across from Town Hall. Please contact the mammography ban office at 617-632-1974 to make an appointment. That is sponsored by the Scituate Board of Health in conjunction with Dana Farber. Scituate Facts, Social Peer Recovery, and Scituate Clergy invite the community to the 8th annual overdose awareness vigil at sunrise on August 31st. Each year, the town gathers at sunrise to mourn and to remember loved ones lost to overdoses, to acknowledge first responders, treatment providers, community groups, and recovery advocates. Please note this year, the new location will be at Peggotty Beach, with the lighthouse under construction. You can park in the Peggotty Beach parking lot, access to the blue boot will be met. They will have blankets, but if you want, you can bring your own chairs, beach mats to that event. It's always a moving event, so I hope people have the time, they can make it on the 31st. No one wants to hear this, but if you've been watching the weather lately, it is tropical storm season, so there are several tropical storms in the Caribbean and the Atlantic. We have the one that just hit California. Don't wait to get ready. Go to the town website, scituatema.gov. Right on the homepage, there's an icon for emergency preparedness. And that will bring you the links for things you should do to prepare for inclement weather, including hurricanes, snow, things like that. Again, don't wait. The storm comes, it's too late, so take a look there. Also, no one really wants to get this. The old Farmer's Almanac and the Farmer's Almanac, both predicting snowier than normal winter for the Northeast this year. So, get started early.
Thanks, Jim.
Just to make everybody happy, right? It's a beautiful day. You can enjoy this day a little bit more because I'm thinking about the. Yeah, Scituate Food Pantry is still looking for donations. They're deeply indebted and extremely grateful to the residents and people who donate. Each week, their numbers are increasing. The most needed items: olives, pickles, relish, microwave popcorn, bottled orange and cranberry juice, cookies and crackers, decaf coffee, canned beets, canned ham, and clam chowder. Donations will be dropped off at the pantry during client hours on Tuesday mornings, 10 to 12:15, Thursdays from 3 to 5:15. Donations can also be left in 2 white covered wooden containers outside the pantry, as well as the library, the village market, and shops. That's what I have.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Jim? Anders?
The Dana Farber van, do you need insurance? That person asked to get insurance, or what if you don't have insurance?
I would have to check with what, I don't think you do. I think it's some of the service that they provide. Check with what else. We'll find out.
Anyone else? Karen?
I just need to ask for Kelly to go grab the more on that car.
Okay. So this evening, before we get into our regular agenda, one of the first things that we are going to do is to honor September as National Suicide Prevention Month. So in honor of that, and to respect this cause, suicide is the 12th leading cause of death in the United States, the second leading cause of death among individuals between 20 and 34, and the third leading cause of death for our youth between 10 and 19. So fairly disturbing. So we'll be honoring that and looking to ways in which to prevent those tragedies. So we do have a proclamation, and I know folks would like to.
Yes, I would like to read it. National Suicide Prevention Month, September 2023 proclamation for the town of Scituate. Whereas suicide is the 12th leading cause of all deaths in the U.S. and the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 20 and 34, and the third leading cause of death in our youth ages 10 to 19. Whereas in the U.S., one person completes suicide every 14 minutes. Whereas it is estimated that 5 million people in the U.S. are survivors of suicide loss. Whereas an increase in the overall suicide rate in our country was seen in 2019, representing a change in the recent pattern of stability. or slight declines. Whereas suicide is a community problem and thus there must be a community response through various initiatives to reduce suicidal behaviors. Whereas the Plymouth Suicide Prevention Coalition, which is dedicated to reducing the frequency of suicide attempts and deaths through education, awareness, and action, urge that we as a community, one, recognize suicide as a national, state, and local public health and declare suicide prevention to be a Scituate priority. Acknowledge that no single suicide prevention program or effort will be appropriate for all populations or communities. 3, continue with local initiatives that are based on goals contained in the National Strategy for Suicide Prevention. We will, A, implement strategies to reduce the stigma associated with being a consumer of mental health, substance misuse, and suicide prevention services. B, support community-based suicide prevention programs and suicide bereavement support services, like those provided at Hope Floats in Kingston. C, continue training for the recognition of at-risk behavior and for the delivery of the effective treatment for our first responders, school, municipal employees, and community members. D, increase access to and community linkages with mental health and substance use treatment through our contract with the Interface Referral Service, our social services team, and partnerships with Scituate Facts and South Shore Peer Recovery. Whereas a great many suicides are preventable, therefore it be resolved that we, the Scituate Select Board, do hereby designate September as National Suicide Prevention Month in the town of Scituate, Massachusetts. Signed this 22nd day of August 2023 by the town of Scituate Select Board.
Thank you for that, and I just want to say thank you to the Scituate Facts organization and South Shore Peer Recovery, two outstanding groups that we're fortunate to have right now. Address this and many other needs that arise. So thank you. All right, so we have a couple of donations that we're going to address. First, we have a senior softball league donation. Nick Lombardo, want to come up, our director of recreation, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
You as well.
Tell us a little bit about.
So yeah, basically they have decided to, be a big part of funding for the shade structures on the dugouts for the softball portion of the project. So there's a new softball field going in where it's about to be done, as well as a 90-foot baseball field. So out of the 30, the whole thing with the shade structure in the dugout is about $36,000. So it was very generous for senior softball to be able to donate $10,000 towards that. So that will definitely help out. The project is about 80 to 85% done at this point. We did get a little bit of a late start. So we're a few weeks behind, but we're hoping it really picks up these next few weeks. So we should hopefully be done towards mid to end September. So yeah, and a big shout out to Bob Gibson, who's the commissioner of senior softball, as well as Peter Belleville, for their willingness to donate the $10,000. So we're very thankful, very happy for that. So yeah, we're hoping that it will be approved tonight. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
I watched them play on Sunday mornings back here now. So,
yeah.
Yep, every Sunday, 8:30. So they'll be back there next season.
They'll
correct?
be back there, yeah, as soon as we're done, even after September, like as soon as we're done, we'll be on there. Yeah, so we're looking forward to it.
Extremely gracious.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Any questions or comments for Nick for the senior softball league? All right, so we have motions.
Move that the select board accept a donation of a total of $10,000 to go towards the central field project.
Second. Moved by Ms. Conley, second by Mrs. Canfield, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay.
Peter softball league.
Have a good night.
Good.
Thanks.
All right. So, is Chris Bassard here? No, but Joe Kelly is. Joe, okay, you're coming forward with this. Okay, this is a donation, an $84 donation to the Scituate Town Library. Do you want to come up, Joe? Thank you.
You just started me off. This is, again, connected with joint connors. Statute that's going to be placed.
Yep. And I'm gonna have you sit down a second so the audience can hear you, Tim Joe, so folks that are watching can hear what it is. That's beautiful.
They heard that. At least they brought it.
Yeah, that's-
Yes.
Okay, we spent some time at the library last week, getting permission and acceptance of the order at the library. They welcomed this, they wrote with open arms, and they're gonna display it in the history room, how appropriate. Again, John, part of his life was education and helping children. And he went to school at BC, and after school, he was teaching children how to read and write and that sort of a thing. So we felt the library would probably be the most appropriate place for this. We attended a dinner fundraiser back in June with John, and this was part of the way they raise money. And this year went for an awful lot of money. Chris, gladly wants to donate this. Chris was on the Veterans Advisory Council. He now moved out of town. So we're gonna miss him. He's a great part of, our advisory council. I know Chris personally, so I'll be seeing him all the time. So I don't know if he's watching TV now, we on TV live or no? Yeah, okay, so I let him know that we're doing this tonight. So.
Great.
But it's a beautiful thing, and it's got a lot of information on it about John. And as you know, it was decided that we're not gonna put John's name on the statue, okay? So we wanna make that connection. People kind of, who's this guy? So it'll be directed to the library, okay? And this will tell a story. There's there'll be some sort of a link to their website or his website, and you can tell the whole deal of what John's life was about. So I think it's, we covered all the bases, and I think this is a very appropriate thing. I mean, this here or is, I guess they call it an award for SEALs. If they do excel in what they do a lot of stuff, to be tired. This is a part of that, okay, so, he actually won this. And, his family donated it, and, even that and this is the most impressive part of it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
The insignia for the, see. Okay, so the last step is for the select board to accept it.
Thank you, Joe, and just a little bit of a summary, so this is in honor of John Connors, who we have approved to have a statue of his liking, built from private donations, which will be going on the Gloucester Commons. So the board's been hearing some terrific stories about John. John was a Scituate resident years ago, in diabetic service. Karen, you've also been part of this and trouble with the library as well.
The only thing I'll add, and I'm gonna go back, is the refund file, and there's this by itself is an honor to folks. So there's a lot of educational opportunities outside of the story that the library is excited. So we did attend with Mr. with Chris to the library trustees meeting. They had a robust debate, as they all want, and voted unanimously to show this witness for in the history of going forward.
We're honored to have.
Great.
Any other questions for Kelly or Karen?
Well, I was just gonna say, hopefully they'll be able to display it so that you can see both sides, because there's a
What we're
little.
thinking is hanging it by the windows, they're gonna be able to turn it around.
And so this was given to his family in honor of them.
Yes.
That's quite a gift to give to us, so.
Right.
For us.
So they gave it, so they could raise,
Yes.
raise money on this.
Very nice.
I think someone
Karen,
else should make
someone
a
else
motion.
should make the motion.
Yeah.
We need to accept the baby or donation to give to Scituate Town Library with gratitude.
Mr. Goodrich, second by Ms. Conway, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the honors family. Next.
She's our official holder.
Uh-oh.
Serves
Very nice
purpose
from now on. All right, it is, we're a little early. Is Kara on Zoom yet?
Ms. Kern, Ms. Tondorf
Seven.
is not here yet.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep going and because we're a little ahead of time and we'll come back to her when she arises. So we'll start with the 7:05 discussion. We're gonna start with you some special town meeting warrant articles. Sandy Allen, I know you're here. If you would like to come up and present your citizens petition to amend the general bylaws section 3460, which is the dog leash law.
Okay.
Welcome. And just for the record, you can just have a seat, be comfortable, and give us your name and address.
Oh, okay. My name is Sandy Allen. I'm a resident at 170 Old Oaken Road. And I've lived there since, well, this is my third summer. It's 20. I bought kind of out there across from the Cranberry Bog. And that fall, I adopted a dog who was a rescue. My back neighbor, the neighbor behind me, was fostering this dog, who was from Arkansas. She came with the name Daphne. She's about 80 pounds now. She's getting really big. When I adopted her, she came from Arkansas. She had just had puppies, and she had just been spayed, and so she really blessed them. Anyway, and I started walking her with the Mooney's permission on Cranberry Bogs off Old Oaken Bucket. And occasionally I would run into people walking dogs. They're very nice. Steve and Debbie, Steve and Debbie. And then in the middle, that's in the morning, in the middle of the day, I walk her either on the Driftway Trail across from Widows Walk or on the Widows Walk golf course in the winter. There are a lot of people who walk their dogs and they all kind of get to know it. And we learn the dogs' names and we chit chat, and some dogs are on leash and some dogs are not on leash.
Yep, you've got a lot of dog owners up here, so we're
Yeah.
very familiar with all that.
Okay, so, my dog, I have trained to be off leash. It was a gradual thing. And I have an e-collar. So if she's not listening to me, I can buzz her. And she comes, I don't zap the dog. And then last winter, all of a sudden I heard that tickets were being given out for $50 if you didn't have your dog on it. So I went marching to the town hall or to the police station and spoke with the great chief about it. And he explained why he had to get up. And I talked to him a number of times after that. He discovered that my dog tag was out of date. So I got a new one, and he came to my house. I can't exactly remember why, but it was all because of that interaction. And basically, I just wanted to tell him that it didn't sound reasonable to me to all of a sudden be giving tickets to people that I knew who walked their dogs. And it was the third winter that I've been doing that. Well, he subsequently explained to me that it was because he was getting so many complaints, many. And then we started hearing rumors around the golf course at the time. There was a group from Marshfield, who was a large group of people, there were a large group of dogs, and I think that was one of the reasons that tickets. Do questions?
So just, you're here to
Okay,
do what?
okay, okay.
What is your petition?
Keep me on task.
I will.
So I ended up, I wanted to put it all in context, and I went on a little bit. I did not put my dog on a leash, even though that is what the law says. And the wording in the bylaws about that is, that all dogs are to be leashed at all times when off the owner's property. And I'm suggesting that the select board adopt slightly new wording, which would be similar to Cohasset, Plymouth, Hingham, although we all know Hingham had a big to do.
And is this wording that you selected and insert into your petition similar and exact to the same language that's in Cohasset?
It's similar to the surrounding towns.
Okay.
Plymouth, Cohasset, and Hingham, and I have examples of that. And the new wording would be, instead of all dogs are to be leashed at all times when off the owner's property, new wording, all dogs are to be leashed or otherwise under owner's control by voice command or e-collar at all times. So I am suggesting changing the wording.
And just, do you understand the process that a petitioner's article to change a bylaw would need to be voted on at town meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I had no idea I was coming to this.
Right. Well, we asked that the petitioners present their articles to us, a couple of folks behind you on other issues as well.
Yeah,
And that gives the board an opportunity to ask a couple of questions as to, what your intent was, and then we do invite Officer Keith, the police here as well, because I'm sure the board may have some questions about enforcement. We're not gonna vote on this evening, but it's more of a discussion to understand,
can I just explain a couple of things that happened to me with Officer Keith? I kind of got to know him a little bit and I kind of like him, but I did not put my dog
You
on
better
the
sit
leash.
like that.
I know, I said hello to him. One time on the golf course, I was walking my dog, I don't know, she was 3 or 4 feet in front of me. And I heard something coming up behind me, it was his, RTV, or what do you call it? Our
ATV.
House Ranger. And he came up behind me, I turned and saw him and I said, Daphne, come here, I want to hook you up. And she came right to me. And I went, wow. And I got a ticket for $50 in the mail because she was on leash. Because the rule says your dog has to be, it's the law, and well, that same thing happened to me another time across the street on the dirt, I call it the Great Trail. It's the Peckman Memorial, whatever. And I was coming out, it was a rainy day, there were a few people around, and she was off leash. And he was in his car, and you're still not gonna put her on a leash. I said, Dad, come here, on the leash. And I got $100. I contested both tickets, but the clerk magistrate also goes literally by the law. And so I am also asking that the select board read the definition of discretion in law enforcement. And that simply means that the law enforcement officer, in this case, the animal control officer, can decide if it's appropriate to fine to the max. And that just seems reasonable to me. I'm a reasonable logic person. And, I didn't really mean, if I did give him a hard time, I just accepted the ticket and so forth. But I kind of think there should be a little discretion in this decision.
Okay.
So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. I'll open up for questions. Susan, three. Jen, second.
How much have you paid in ticket?
150,
150, so free ticket.
2.
Oh, two. Oh,
First
one was
one's
100,
50, the
okay.
next one's 300.
Oh, the next one's 300.
And I was dismayed when I heard that they were $50 tickets.
Yeah.
There might be a question about warnings also.
Yeah, I have a question. Would you be open to sometimes, sure we can't do it now, but sometimes at a town meeting, people can amend these? Would you be amenable if someone only took out voice command and only had just e-collar at all times? And then the follow-up with that, I see here the rules are for Scituate conservation trails.
Same thing.
Maybe if someone just kind of define precisely which, because obviously the golf course would be a conservation trail, technically not. But I guess what would be your openness if somebody wanted to take out voice command and just make sure someone had an e-collar?
I think it's worth discussion. Now, I've been trying to educate people about e-collars, and I show them mine, and I tell them where they can get it, and they are not expensive, they're $25. And the signal will go 2,500 feet.
I mean, I'll just tell you philosophically, I probably a year and a half ago, I contacted the police. I got 2 bird dogs, e-collars. So you go to perfect places, it's not a hunt, do what you need to do, I don't hunt, but.
It works, right?
And there's a difference between an e-collar with a physical connection, where I think some people might be, versus a voice command, e-collar is kind of like that. Invisible
So it's a
fence.
signal.
Right, there's a real signal, there's a real connection where you can recall and granted out the deadline does give the bus, just in case there's an issue.
I think that will prompt discussion. I mean, I actually fear at the special town meeting, discussion that could develop, because there are,
Well, it will, so we
Yeah.
can tell you that from experience. And I think that's why Mr. Goodrich is asking you if we may be amenable to amend or consider just the e-collar piece. Is that fair?
Yeah, just to see if that, because I think
well,
there could be some folks who might be more comfortable with a physical connection versus just, oh, I know my dog, yeah, come on back.
yeah.
Mittens.
Well, some people think their dogs are under voice control, and they're really not.
Well, I think that's,
Yeah, no, you're,
I think for me, that's the challenge, right? Is the unknown, who really does have complete control over their dogs. And that's why we did invite Officer Keith here just for some feedback as well, to have a board as did you have?
no, not that.
Did you have?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is, my husband and I have owned dogs for 25 years.
So you know all about
We
it.
understand. Now, he's probably gonna get angry with me, but I think it's irresponsible to have dogs off leash.
There are a lot of people who feel the way you
I
do.
will, if I could finish.
I'm sorry.
It's to the point where I've been to the dog park. First time I went, I said, I'm never going back there again, because even the people at the dog park, everyone's off leash. My dog gets scared, my dog came right back to me, and all of a sudden I am surrounded, I'm not kidding, by like 6 dogs. Only one owner, only one came over to rescue me from a pack of dogs. And I love dogs. So that turned me off of the dog park completely. I just said, "No, you take the dogs to the dog park." He doesn't even like the dog park. The thing I'm intrigued about is the e-collar.
Mhm.
If there's some way of being able to identify that someone's dog has an e-collar and that you, just let me finish,
All right.
and that you, the owner, can be identified by, I don't know, a badge or something that says my dog has an e-collar, then it might help people who are fearful of dogs,
Yeah.
rushing them. And you have to admit that there are more people without dogs that walk all over town, including widows walk. A lot of people just like to walk down there and
Right.
nature. Children sled there. I mean, it's kind of a public park. in the winter. So if I could be persuaded that we would be able to identify someone as having their dog has the e-collar and it's somehow or other, it's some symbol on it, and that you as the owner have a similar symbol, so that someone approaching you knows that you can immediately get your dog back. I would consider that.
I have one with me if you want to see it.
No, we don't have to go into that. All I'm saying is this is where I see this conversation go.
Yep, it
And,
could.
but if there's no way of identifying the dog and the dog owner as having a,
Can I tell you the collar that I have has a bright green stripe around it? And I carry the control device in my hand, which
Well,
proves that I have it.
that goes a long way.
And even if she's far away, like in the bushes or something, where I can't see her, I'll beep it and I'll buzz it. I don't advise snapping, but it depends on your dog. You know, she comes back.
Well, I'm saying that when, now this is a reasonable discussion to have. I think that having dogs just under voice control is not reasonable. Because that's not reassuring to the people who may have a dog or not have a dog, and many people are afraid that their dog could get attacked by another dog. So, but we're, many years ahead of where we probably were when we adopted the leash law here. And I will say that you were warned $50 ticket. And you still went out and walked your dog without a leash. So that's why you got that $100 ticket.
Yeah.
And
I was just wanting to present the situation.
I understand, but I'm saying you were warned with a $50 ticket
Oh, and I did
that
it
you weren't supposed to.
thinking that I would go to court and speak with a judge who has some discretion in deciding how appropriate.
They do have discretion, but they can decide if you deserve a ticket.
Okay.
That's what they do.
Well, I'm just saying, I know, I just want to stay on top of the bylaw, but yeah, that's fair. All right, fair observation.
All right,
Karen?
Nice to meet you. Thank you for bringing this to the board. I just want to go over a couple of procedural things just so that you understand. So citizens petition, you appropriately gather signatures and all that. What our chair has said is what we will debate, and we will decide whether to support it or not. So we vote yes, we all think this is a great thing. It's really up to town meeting. So if we vote yes, it doesn't mean it's a done deal, ask for town meeting. I just want to make that clarification. Our board, on all of the articles for town meeting, just vote whether it's or not. Okay. Come to town meeting, it's a little bit different. I had one question about just the structure of this actual petition. You have 1 and 2, which is the rewrite of the language in the bylaw. And then at the bottom, it's typed in added about the legal discretion. So the first question is, was that language there when the people signed the petition? Okay. And the second question, and this may not be for you, but maybe for our administrator, is I don't know where in the document, if this is the, like, if you were going to amend the bylaws, is that just structured? I'm a policy.
I didn't look, I mean, if you need to make a change that's a number, we can do that, that's administrative.
Okay.
So, as long as it's correct, but normally we ask people to talk to us and we'll make sure it's in the right form.
Yeah.
But I haven't really had a lot of time.
Yeah, typically, especially the bylaw, because the bylaw affects everybody in the community, we do like to go through the process of committees and we have a fully staffed bylaw. Another plug, anyone who wants to be on bylaw review, let learning now. But there's a process because all of these questions.
Oh, I'm sure.
So to the subject of the petition, we will at some point when we go to vote have a debate amongst us, but the problem with very undefined with this, it's discretion either way, right? So if the law says you have to have a leash, one part of it that you proposed is that the officers exercise discretion, which I know they do on a lot of occasions, and we hear about it, they go, but not very often. And that's one piece. The other piece is giving them the tools in order to do their job. And if this language as written, you know, forgetting proposed amendments to it, as written, is so broad, because I've always had dogs, and I've taken them everywhere there is to take them in Scituate. And as you say, they're, you know, you may be the most responsible dog owner and dog, and have the best dog, but there are a lot of people that think they do. And then these folks come in and the man or woman who's walking the dog says, I have voice control, or I have a meat collar, and the dog's a mile away. That puts them in a very awkward position. So and as you can tell, I like to be very literal about these things and make sure they're done properly. I think that, I understand completely. I mean, I've been plenty of places, so it's on, plenty of places where people have their dogs off leash, they're completely in control and are responsible. They're not the ones that we're worried about. We're worried about the ones who we think they do, or who really just don't have animals that should be off leash. That puts the police officers in an awkward position, and they have to do everything one by one. So, as written, I mean, we will debate it, and I, you know, have some time to think about it, but the language that's there does concern me. I would like to know what the animal control officer feels about the way it's supposed to. Even now, or
That would as well. I mean, and that's why we invited Officer Pete this evening, so I don't know if you wanted to. My question for you is, you know, how difficult is it to enforce an e-collar type situation, and, you know, have you spoken with any of your colleagues in Cohasset or Hingham with regards to bylaws?
Briefly, I spoke with the e-collar situation, but I was under the impression that it was only in certain private, conservation areas. I don't think it's townwide. Not just kidding.
Okay.
It's both ways. I actually looked it up.
It is townwide.
Well, the Cohasset one seems to be townwide, the Hingham one seems to be their conservation areas, and they actually have an off-leash dog walking permit. So you actually have to go to the town clerk and with information, including your homeowner's insurance policy, which is my other question that you probably can't answer, would be liability to the town, to get this permit, and then you're allowed to go in certain areas, not everywhere. So that's like a lot more control, and then they would obviously not give you a permit if you had violations. If your dog has.
Could I just make a comment about?
What's that? I'll come back to you, but then.
I just found that interesting, different
Right.
policies, but that was super quick.
As far as the voice control is be extremely hard to enforce. Almost everything out now is people say, well, my dog, he's on the voice control. Who's to say, he's been, the dog on themselves and making that trouble. Well, my dog's not, you touch on. You don't know how you can react to the dog, and that individual dog owner made a decision, his dog was on voice control. But sometimes not, so that's really hard to enforce or determine who's voice control and who's not. A lot of people think that the dogs are.
And to Karen's point earlier about, you know, higher visibility to the e-collars, what, are they visible to you, or what's your experience?
It would just be more, you know, right now, it's a dog's off leash, I know what I'm doing right away. This would involve, you know, it would just make it a little tougher to decide who's doing what. There'd be more interactions, more. It's a possibility, but another thing that Ms. Allen mentioned when the dog was out of sight or e-collar. First of all, out of sight opens up a whole other issue, bunch of issues. Dog mess being left behind, which is already a huge problem. You never started knowing. You're not gonna know when your dog goes and where to go and pick up. That's huge, already. So that's an issue. Also, it becomes a safety issue. You know, coyotes are the dogs. People, if it's out of sight, which could very easily happen, if can get out of range of your recall and stuff like that, where it's gonna be, it's just gonna open up suspicion, but identifying, sure, would be better if you had a color ribbon or something like that, that would identify it. I think there's more to look into than just identifying who's on, who's on, who's not. There's some safety issues around it that we should look into more closely before, as soon as they're not, for sure. And just to touch on, as far as the fine amounts, we're in line with the state, we are unable to change 50 first offense, unexpected offense, stuff like that. So we had to change our bylaw a couple of years back to be in line with the state, so we don't really have any needs to walk along stuff.
Thank you. for that.
Sure.
All right, so is this particular bylaw, Mrs. Allen, just for the conservation trails, or is the intention for the entire town?
Oh, my intention is for where I walk and where, I don't know, 50 people with, 25 people with dogs all know each other and know enough if there's an
Right, so
unusual.
you're saying any public place?
I think it was
You could
both.
say,
It was a A and a B, right?
There's a one and a two.
The one and a two.
There's a one and a two. Okay,
I was thinking.
well, I
of
think
places-
we'll discuss it even further. Are there any comments from the public? The additional? Yep. The
Steve
address?
Young, 5 Old Court Road. Maybe you wanna, just, interview, maybe go back to Hingham and see how their enforcement's doing, with the bylaw. Maybe that'll help give you guys a little perspective if they're working.
Yeah. Good idea. Absolutely. Anything else? Obviously, keep your
It's just some of the areas that we have aren't really, we have a little more area to enforce the capacity, and we already have. Like Ms. Allen just said, she has a group of 25 people all know each other, and if there's one individual that doesn't maybe know everybody as much as the other person, or that someone new comes in, and stuff happens, it happens now, even in situations like that. It happens a lot. I don't know, I think we have more, I know we have more conservation area, but stuff like Rose Walk, for example, which is definitely, plenty of place just for that area. And the conservation across the street, by far the two biggest. The Western Conservation and Ellis are becoming a lot more active, now that people are aware of the parking, showing up in town, and everything is beautiful places. Great to walk dogs, but the dog attacks and stuff like that, that I get called to respond to, it's definitely gone up the last year or so. I just think we're a little more active than Cohasset. I think, but definitely worth looking into.
area.
So, conflict between dog on dog, or dog on a person. When you don't have that physical restraint mechanism, and you're relying on these calls, it's just, it leaves more room for error.
Yep.
So,
Thank you for coming tonight.
yeah, absolutely.
I'll give you 30 seconds, one more, and I
Okay.
think we understand the gist, obviously, I'm a dog owner as well,
Yeah.
20 years plus years, and the little.
30
little walk
seconds.
pack the whole thing.
I-
So I understand as
I
well.
got the idea of discretion from Josh Kimball, who's the animal control officer at Cohasset. He said he works over here sometime. I had a nice discussion with him, and so I looked up discretion in law enforcement. And that more or less means, when you get stopped for speeding, if you're going over the speed limit, which is 35 and you're going 40 and the policeman stops you, they oftentimes give you a warning. They hand you a paper warning. There are no paper warnings with animal control.
Okay. That's another thing.
Well, and I want to say, as far as discretion is concerned, my dog was under voice control. She came to me immediately. She was this far off the leash. And he did not use discretion when he decided to find me.
Okay, well, we're not here to complain about the police, we're here to talk about a change.
And I'm
in
not
law.
complaining. I like,
Okay, But thank you. As I said, we won't vote on it this evening. We'll vote on it at a later date when we vote on it and discuss further. So just keep an eye on the agenda if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll stay for a little while longer. I don't think I'll stay till 9 or 10.
Come on.
I don't blame you.
Thank you,
Thank
thank you
you.
for listening. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yep, thanks so much. All right. So next we have a citizens. What? Oh, is Karen on? Okay, great. Please go back. I said, Seawall folks don't mind just waiting 5 minutes. We're just gonna go back to the agenda item. So thanks, guys, for bringing that to my attention. So Kara, can you hear us? We can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Oh,
Perfect.
perfect. Awesome.
All right, so Kara's here to discuss an outdoor entertainment permit for a live band at, we're gonna go back up to where Tara is, over on, oh, it is on 52 Oceanside Road. I was thinking it was, over at, Rivershed. All right, so it's for your annual Songwriters Festival, which you did last year and the year prior, I believe, right, Kara?
I've done it, 2019, I think I took a year after on COVID, but I've done it, we've had 3 or 4 there.
Okay, and to my knowledge, we haven't had any issues. It's a Songwriters Festival that she hosts, that's being held from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And the Rivershed is also applying for a one-day wine and malt for this event as well. I assume you've alerted all the abutters?
Yes.
Any questions on the board? No, Karen? Andrew?
There's only one issue with this, is that more people need to know, the amazing people.
Oh, I'm sure.
So tell
Sorry,
Karen
I
what's
didn't,
wrong.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Could you
The
say that
issue is
again?
that more people need to know about some of the amazingly talented artists and songwriters that have been here. And correct me if I'm wrong, but some of them have written songs for Garth Brooks, Sam Hunt, Reba McEntire, Faith Hill, Keith Urban, Brooks and Dunn, Alan Jackson, Keith Urban, Ian Womack, Casey and the Sunshine Band, Jason Mraz, and more. Is that right? Some of these are some of the best songwriters in the entire world, correct?
It's magical,
And they're coming to Scituate, correct?
and I'm
I just
doing
want
it,
to make sure everybody knows that. All right, thank you.
and it's a magical experience, and if you guys want to come, let me know, because literally you don't get an experience like this, and I'm so proud to be able to deliver it to Scituate, because it's like, they're all artists, and they might not be the people that are, performing on the stage, but they're the people like you and I that are like sitting there writing the tunes, and it's awesome. So I highly recommend it.
That's great. Kara, how many attendees do you typically anticipate? At the festival?
As people that are coming to check out the show, I mean,
Yes,
I
yeah.
think probably 60, 65, 70, maybe
Okay,
most. Yeah, I've got 9 songwriters this year. It's gonna be the best show ever. So
great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions regarding this event? Didn't see any.
I guess, do you publicize the event to the general public, or is it more of a, you sort of have to know about it?
Invitation. Kara, did you hear that?
I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
after the dog park conversation, my dog is flipping out in the yard, so. What did you say? I apologize.
He wants off that leash. Is this a publicized event, or is it really a matter of people who know about it go to it? Because I guess my only concern is now that we've promoted it up here, it could all of a
simply
sudden turn into.
It's an event that if you want to come, buy a ticket, let's go.
Otherwise, I think.
All right, well, if it gets really popular, like Levitate, we could have a problem in Houston.
I'm not doing levitate. I'm doing, it's a very intimate experience with, songwriting and music, and
Great.
it'll change your life.
All right.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah. Grant to move to grant, move to grant an outdoor entertainment permit to the Rivershed for a live band for the Songwriters Festival, 52 Ocean Drive, on Oceanside Drive on Friday, September 22nd, 2023, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. and move to grant an one-day wine and malt license for the Rivershed for the same date and time and location.
Moved by Mrs. Canfield,
Second.
second by Mr. Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye.
You're all set.
Thank you so much, guys. And
Thank
seriously,
you.
if you want to come, like, hit me up. Like, it's awesome. It's a great event.
Take you up on that.
All right.
Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you doing the Zoom for me as well. So,
Yep. You're
all right,
welcome.
take care.
Bye-bye. All right. So next, we'll continue, go back to reviewing the warrant articles. And so we have a citizens petition to allocate $7 million for the Cedar Point seawall. We have Dr. William Pitcherick, George Simmons, Stephanie Porcioni, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay, and Dave Paul. So, folks want to come up to this table and just your names and addresses and try to speak to them. Thank you. Hi, Dave.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are
Good evening,
you?
all. Doing well, thank you. Thank you for having us. So we have with us for this presentation, Dr. William Hedrick right here, second course loan, and George Simmons and myself as well. My address is 44 Rebecca Road. 45 Rebecca Road. 14 Benjamin Lane.
74 Rebecca.
So thanks for having us come in tonight. We'll try to do this very quickly, so we'll try to get it up. Move on. So as you know, we put in a citizen petition for $7 million for seawall. And I know you're all very familiar with seawall, we talked about it all the way down there. It's getting worse all the time. A couple of the abutters very close will tell me that even this summer, when we haven't had any wave action, they can see changes every time we've had a fairly heavy rains. So it's a big concern. So, what I want to do is give you some information that probably hasn't been brought up to any extent before, and then we'll open the questions. So, one of the handouts that Stephanie gave you is, it looks like this.
Yeah.
And it's highlighted with Scituate, and it's really just the first paragraph, it's perfect, what we're talking about. And frankly, it was a very important document time because it talks about the construction of this seawall in 1900 as a result of the Great Storm of 1898. As you know, the Great Storm of 1898, also called the Portland Storm, broke through Windford and Fort Cliff and changed the course of the North River. But it also broke through where we're talking about, on the narrow neck Cedar Point. And as it says in here, well, I have it right here in front of me as well. In pursuance to Chapter 431 of the Acts of 1900, the board made an examination of the shores and harbor, the town of Scituate. And by the way, the board is the Board of Harbor and Land Commissioners, which eventually became the Massachusetts Department of Public Works. So, it concluded that it would be necessary to build a seawall of sand hills, so-called, where the ocean broke across into the harbor in the Great Storm of November 1898. And that's really what we're really concerned about. It's not just the impacts that the second awful storm would have on the point, but it's going to have a tremendous awful impact on everything on Jericho Road, down in Front Street, the harbor interests, maritime interests, recreational
the fishing fleet and all that down there. So then it goes on to say that they decided they voted to build a seawall 998 feet long, with the uniform surface level, goes on and on. So the interesting thing you'll also see there is that the cost was $5,408. Be nice if we put that today.
Yeah.
So,
We wouldn't be here if it were five
Yeah.
years.
so.
Oh,
Oh, I wouldn't even do a foot, see.
I heard that.
So the work was completed in the middle of December 1900, and they were very pleased with the way the wall was behaving, and they thought it was going to do a fantastic job, and it did. When you think back, we're talking about 1900, 123 years ago. The core of that wall that we're talking about now is still there. It's just been encapsulated in several caves. So the original first wall was built in 1900. There was a major renovation work done on that wall, paid for by Plymouth County and the town in 1931. Then the Army Corps of Engineers did the last major work of the wall in 1972. In 1972, there was a major coastal storm, did a lot of damage on that town. So the Army Corps of Engineers installed that space that we see today, kind of curved like that. And that's kind of the problem with it, frankly. The waves will come up, go up, and then straight back down. There's no proper wave return on the top of the wall. But anyway, so in 1898, there was this horrendous storm, and I'm sure you all know about it. This handout here is the next one I want to draw your attention to. Shows a picture that's taken by a photographer of the 1898 storm. You can see the water line upside the buildings. And I think that these buildings are roughly in the same location where the Welsh company is. And you can see that the water was at least 3 feet deep, maybe 3.5. I don't think even in the storm 1978, the water was quite that high on the front. But there's no saying, of course, it happened before, it's not happening again. And there was reference in the newspapers that we found in the storm that the Welsh company experienced extensive serious damage and a lot of what's called quicklime stored on the wharfs. It's very flammable if it gets wet. You can imagine that. Fortunately, there was some rural people that were down there and moved just before. We're really worried about this wall. It, in the horrendous shape you've seen, heated wall down this. There were a series of expensive high tides in 2018, one in January, and then a series of them in March of 2000. High tide, a lot of them were close to 75. And if we have another situation like that, let's hope we don't, before this wall is replaced, there would be the high likelihood, in our opinion, that there would be a major breach in this wall. Once again, the ocean would sweep right into the harbor and do this horrific damage, far worse than we've done in the. So why did we select $7 million? Well, in 2022, the town almost voted $7 million. And that's the, go to the second page.
Part of the capital.
It's something like, yeah, it's highlighted, underlined, right. Select board also voted to defer $7.17 million to seawall redevelopment project to the point that this project is being done by Army Corps of Engineers and SOAR has asked for additional available funds, which the town has paid for further design work. So since the final design was not known, the town, rightfully so, said, hey, we don't know what the project is. The Army Corps is going to do the work.
So we'll hold off until the fall of 2020. Here we are going to fall of 2023. Unfortunately, the Army Corps, when they met with everybody in June 6th, they informed us that, they informed us of a couple. They informed us that the most that they can contribute and pay for this project is $10 million. That number is established by the economists. They also said that probably there could be another $7 million put into the project by other agencies, town, state, etc. 17, but they also estimated the project cost for the whole thing, 25 to 30 million. I know you guys probably about this last. Of course, that was for the whole length of this wall, and the Army Corps was talking about a length of 12 feet. If you think of this wall as almost two different sections, section 1 is north of the concrete stairs right across from Hart Park. That wall, part of the wall, is still reasonably good shape. It's not great. And it has moved some, but it's not in the condition that we can solve the walls. And where our focus has been the last couple of years, solving the wall, we know it's getting ready to fail. You can see it ditches just out, bad condition. So we said to ourselves, and there was a lot of discussion, should we ask for more than 7? Some first thought it might be a better idea to ask for more. Those of us at the table pretty much said, we think $7 million is an appropriate number, given that the town was very close to doing this a year and a half. So that's how we came up with $7 million. What we're talking about is roughly half of the length of the total wall. And that's why we describe the wording as such in the condition, where it says, in the beginning, it's from the property of 181, Center Road, going south, 3, Becker Road, and then you have other section of wall, Becker Road goes up to 14. Like that. So we're not even talking about the whole thing. We received a phone call. Right, maybe the last week, July, very recently. Yep. From Jim Campbell. He's been working very closely with us the past couple of years. Matter of fact, he called me at the house. Maybe it was 2 years ago now. And it's right after storm. Sunday morning, I wondered how we get down the point because he was concerned that he had heard there was some real problems in him. But he's been involved in this all along. He was very excited to call us. And he told us that Senator Markey is working on an earmark, congressional earmark, $5.5 million. And that same phone call, I'm sure it got to a change of withdrawal of this doesn't call. So, he said that Senator Markey is totally committed to seeing for this project for the next 2 months. So basically, Jim Campbell, I'll add this wall. So, we also told Jim, and this happened, both George and I were able to be sitting in on this phone call. We also told him that we had just been successful in getting the signatures needed, put onto the special town meeting on October 16th. And the question of $7 million, he was really thrilled to hear that. He made the comment that he wants everybody to know that everybody has to work together to get this done. So he's doing what he can on the federal level. Chris Matthews is on the call also. And that's right, Chris Matthews and Constance Keating are. We've also had Zoom meetings with Senator Patrick O'Connor. We've had in-person meetings with Senator Kearney. So everybody seems to be on the same page. So, I think it's looking encouraging. So, oh, by the way, if there's thought about postponing this to the next annual town meeting, we think that's a mistake. Because if this wall fails, when now in time it is replaced, it seems as though the price to replace the wall will skyrocket. Apparently, the design right now is based on using the existing vertical part of the wall, one half of the form. If there's no wall there, I can't even imagine how it's going to become. And the other thing is, and Kevin, I don't know, is Kevin here tonight?
Yeah, they're behind.
Okay, good. Kevin, it looked to me like the dam and seawall replacement. The applications have to be in by February 28th, I think. Do you think that's correct?
So Jim or Kevin, he's asking whether or
I don't know,
not the dam and seawall fund application is February 28th, is that the deadline?
We think so. We have two dam and seawall grant applications here now that we're trying to define whatever problems with permits. So, until we get everything straightened out, I don't think we're going to be getting the plans until that construction work starts.
Until the permitting gets approved, what,
We received a grant for some of the work we do on Oceanside from dam and seawall,
right,
and then CZM decided that they wanted to get involved. So we have not been given permission to move forward, so we have to get extensions on the grant money that they gave us. Until we spend the grant that we have, our chances of getting an additional
Another
grant are not great.
but we'll still attempt.
We always do.
Yeah.
We always put in for dam and seawall.
Well, I guess my point is that I don't think you want to wait until another year because apparently these applications have to be in that way. Anyway, I'm gonna have Bill wrap up what I got to say, and I think Joy wants to say about it. Stephanie.
It's just that we've all been working on that point. I also have a house down there besides Benjamin Lane on the lighthouse. Next to Tommy the plumber, says we're gonna get estimate where I live. And so just the storm that hit, the wind changed. I've been down there for 6 years. This past storm at Christmas time, the waves were coming over that little concrete wall and it's cracked back, which is right at that narrows. So it is crumbling, not only that side. So I bought on the lee side of the problem, figuring there's 2 rows of houses to protect me. Well, it's not anymore because it's coming right over the road into us. You can't get your cars in and out. And if that cuts through, how are you gonna get to all of our homes? The lighthouse. At 6 o'clock in the morning, you don't have to set an alarm. There's so many people that walk their dogs, the bikes, the cars, the entertainment down there is tremendous. That's all gone. Because you'll never be able to get over there. I have a big pickup truck. And when that water went through at Christmas time, I couldn't get through there. In the truck itself. So it's just that we're trying to work so hard as a group. We know that it's vulnerable. All of the docks, the boats out there, they're going to get hammered. If you ever sit there in a storm and watch, I have a big boat going up and down and ripping it at the docks, it's going to tear everything apart. Plus, the downtown is going to be the wave action down there is going to be different than just flooding.
Right.
So we're just trying to work with everybody in the town, etc., and say this is really a really major problem right now. And then, as Dave said, if that wall goes, I don't know how we're going to fix it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, George, I'll let you wrap up and then. Get to some
So,
questions.
can you put the, yeah, set up.
This is just the traffic count.
Yeah,
A couple of years ago by the police.
2017, I asked the police department to put a traffic counter out on the point.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think it's lost on anybody up here in our town, how cherished the lighthouse is, how much traffic is there, how much pedestrian traffic is there. We're well aware of that, everybody up here, so.
It's just the point of it, what's being passed out, the 58
126th year, around the clock. 5 days. That's huge.
Yeah, it is a lot, no doubt, and like I just said, it's a cherished part of our town. Everybody is collectively going towards this, it's a $30 million project. I've always been told in the past that it's not always feasible to do a section, like typically you have to take care of the whole thing, because once you repair one, then the water shifts and goes to the other area, but that was years ago, things change, engineering changes, I don't know. So I'm curious, and this is for Jim or Kevin, you know, this, I'm not, what's the linear feet of this section that you're requesting?
About 600.
600?
And Laura, there's, the $30 million number is really an outside number that's been put together without really the detailed design discussion. We were hoping to have that with the Corps to talk about design alternatives. And that's also 30 million for almost 1,000 feet, and we're proposing 600, because that's what's most needed. And again, there's a lot of input we could have in terms of the size of the wall, height, which design we're gonna pick out of the 4 sketches that they gave to us when we met. So I wouldn't look at that 30 million and say, that's the number. I don't think it is. I think it's much less than that. I think we have a lot of alternatives that we need to consider, and that number, we can take that number down.
I don't know, when you take the number down, that's beyond my pay grade, that's the engineer.
If you're doing less,
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
It would be
you don't
less,
do all the
right?
thing, right.
but he hit on one of the. It doesn't matter if you do this now. We are not even into design yet, never mind permitting. So if the town approves this, nothing's gonna be expended because we're not anywhere close to making the type of decision as to what's the wall gonna look like, what's it gonna cost, what's the permitting. The permitting alone is, it's just getting worse and worse all the time. Do the permitting. As we said, we were ready to go on Oceanside, we had a grant from the state. Coastal Zone Management can say, wait a minute, we want you to do more things.
Well, and does coastal zone management have jurisdiction over the type of wall that goes here as well, or no?
They have
that's-
jurisdiction over actual impact from the wall. Within the intertidal zone, for lack of a better. So I don't know how much the board, this was given to the Army Corps previously because of how close the wall is to the homes. With the thought that the Army Corps would have the jurisdiction to build a wall in front of the old wall, which we would not. That is not the case now, they're not planning on that, they're placing the existing wall. I think it's 4 feet higher, Dave, is what they were talking about.
Yeah, well, we think that's
Significantly higher.
And our other ones are only 2 feet higher, right?
I believe so, yeah. Their position was it has to be that high in order to mitigate the flooding that they're trying to prevent. We can argue with them about that, but that was their position.
But when I talked to Scott Sanderson, who was project manager who flew here from Philadelphia, and I took on the tour of the wall, Scott said that they're open to having those discussions, Jim.
I'm not
Let's get
arguing,
people
I'm
together and
telling you
talk
what
about
they
what
said
might
at
be
the
a good
time.
fit.
Not, I said, we could have that discussion, that was the design that they had before, significantly higher, much more expensive. So, really, we're not close with this wall, because we're not even into a design that we can permit yet.
So if I have a second, it just, kind of closing where we are. I mean, everybody's between a rock and a hard place. We can't do this because of that, et cetera, but this is gonna fail. If you walk, you can't even walk on the wall.
I made the point to the Army Corps on our last call, that the feds are paying for this one way or the other. We're either gonna fix the wall and we're gonna repair it, or it's gonna break and they're gonna pay to fix it, so.
Well, I mean, we're willing to take this whole article out, you know, the warrant. I mean, I guess we have to have some assurance that someone's working with us,
Well, I think.
that's where we're headed. I mean, if the 7 million was already allocated and voted on and was approved, but tabled because we don't have designs, we don't have numbers, we don't have anything, we don't have any assurance that we're even moving forward. We're nowhere.
And I want to question too on the 5.5 million that's earmarked. I don't know how long it takes for us to see that. That's not committed to us.
So
Right,
if the
so-
board recalls, I submitted on behalf of the town to Representative Keating and Senator Markey 4 federal earmarks. Representative Keating, I put the water treatment plant, he has put forth an earmark of over $5 million for the water treatment plant. I gave him a couple other earmarks. Senator Markey, all I submitted to his office was this seawall project. That was it. The town has already spent over $200,000 with the Army Corps on this. We were on the phone today with our consultant who does seawalls to try to find out what other money trees we can shake to make this work. We're gonna be getting a change order from them in the tens of thousands of dollars for them now to go out and prepare different grant applications for some other funds, so we can try to cobble together the funds on this. So to say nothing's happening, towns are working on this forever. It's just,
Yeah, I don't think they speak for you, but I think everyone knows that something is happening. So my question is, and I'll open it up to the board. If there were money allocated, do we get that design done? Do we reach an agreement that at least a minimal design needs to be done so we have a forward cap?
well,
That's the first step.
we either have to go back to the Army Corps and tell them we don't want to do the whole wall. We want to do less. They can say, okay, or they can say, well, no, that wouldn't do what we need to do to meet our requirements. I don't know. I haven't worked with them on something like this before. Or we take the design ourselves and hire a designer to do the design ourselves, and then go forward from there, and then go through different monies to try to get. Well, FEMA and some of the other grant programs.
So when they said they didn't have any money, they didn't even talk about designing the solution?
So the meeting we were at in June, I guess it was, they presented 4 different iterations on what the wall could look like. I won't go into the details, but different things that the wall could look like. But that's when they said, our estimate now is $25 to $30 million. We're capped at 10. We gave them, meeting with the residents, we gave them all the information on not just the impacts. They were looking at, if it breached right there, how many homes would be damaged, what would happen? We said, no, you're talking the whole point, because all those homes are at risk, all the way down Jericho Road. Pump station in Sand Hills, which would have a major impact on our sewer infrastructure. We sent them all that. We got memos from Steve Bone on the impact to the harbor, the boating, to the commercial fisheries. We sent them all that. The last phone call with them, they said, you capped it to $10 million is all we can do, period. Don't send us any more information, because it doesn't matter what you send us, we're capped statutorily at $10 million. So that's why we're now going with our consultant saying, we want this, we want that. we
To
want
work
this.
within that 10 million?
No, to try to find additional money on the 10 million.
Yeah, Jim, 10 million is 65% of the total project. The Army Corps said, we're gonna fund 65% of a project. So if they give us 10 million, the total project cost is roughly 17, you do the math in my head. That's.
No, they just said, it doesn't matter what the project costs, they're at 10 million. So if their estimate of 25 to 30, which is the whole project, this truncated
Something
project,
scale back.
they would be capped at $10 million, period. And that's their legislative authorization. There is an appeal that you can do to ask for more, and they told us point blank, you wouldn't get it. Just not, because obviously this is just, a small project when they're dealing with the whole country, so. But we'll see what our consultant comes back with a change order. They felt that there were a couple grant programs out there that might be something we could tap into. And then we'll go back to the legislature, maybe get some of the ARPA money they have left over and see what it is.
So maybe a stupid question, but it's a simple question. Is there any way, so I understand, you have to involve Army Corps trying to build a wall for us? But we're talking about replacing.
But they're not talking about that anymore, they're talking
Okay,
about
so
replacing.
if I say, sometimes I think we're chasing financial ghosts. We may never see it happen, you never see a nickel from the feds. Is it possible for the town itself to just, without having to go to Army Corps, without having to put 7 million, get you 300, 200, could you do it without? I just want to know the art of the possible. I'm not saying we need to do it or should do it, I just don't know the permitting, who do we talk to, like what is, I don't know.
So the town right now has over $11 million authorize unissued debt for force protection. Those are all the named storms, Oceanside. So now you have another 7 million on that. $7 million. When you issued it in total, right, if I issued $7 million today in debt, that would hit the budget for, I think Nancy said, over $650,000, which is more than we have additional when we do our financial forecast. So is it doable? Yes, but we could do it in the budget if I have to.
Wait, no, I don't believe that financially would be responsible.
Well,
I'm trying to figure out just on the permitting, so like who do we need to involve, who don't we need to involve? Do you know what I mean? I'm not, yeah.
I guess I have
We need
to,
the Army Corps, or if.
no, we don't need the Army Corps. We do projects all the time without the Army Corps. So we can go get our own engineer, design the wall. Is 300 feet enough? I couldn't tell you whether you could stop at 300 feet. You gotta at least get around the corner. So, because that's where it's gonna go. That's where it floods down. Get around the corner. I don't know how far down towards Oceanside you have to go, but you gotta get around that corner. However many feet, they're saying 600, I'll take their word for it.
We measured it, yeah.
You gotta at least get around that, where the narrow neck is, get around there, get that done. Where you can cut it off, more of an engineering question than something I could. And you'd have to actually go engineer, whether you stop at the stairs and go out, or how far you come down?
We started at the stairs and went all the way down.
All the way down to the last house with that. Okay. So,
And so if you take 600 feet, and if you take Kevin's rough number, let's just say of 12,000 foot, you're way under 30 million, you're a fraction of that. So there's some opportunities that we think
Well, we
that
know
$30
that,
million
and
dollar
we
number.
already stated that 30 million was the entire project, not
Right.
600. Get that.
That's what we're really looking for, some assurance that the town is working on getting this progress.
Kevin would correct me, but we'd go to the Army Corps and tell them to close the file. Okay, we're not, you're done, thank you. Take it ourselves. Then get our engineers to design the wall, right?
Right, well, are we going to count the other projects? for
No,
this project?
I'm asking it in a vacuum, if we wanted to move
In
this
fact,
up.
we could close out and hire another engineering firm and start permitting and putting it together.
But we can't defer that 11 million that we already have authorized for those particular projects down to this one, since we're being.
A lot of it is the FEMA reimbursement projects, and then the Oceanside project,
Right.
which went ahead of this because of its proximity to the Sandy Hills pumping station, we need to get that.
Okay.
But that
I just
should,
want to put that out there too, so maybe.
so,
And I think one of the analysis is there's 7 million, and then ask yourself what the damage would be when that wall fails. So 7 million versus 100 million in damage that you're gonna sustain when that harbor is open to the open ocean. I mean, that's really the other side of the analysis.
and that was my point to the Army Corps, so you're gonna pay for this, the feds are gonna pay for this, one way or the other. Either they're gonna pay to fix it, or they're gonna pay to clean it up, and it's gonna be cheaper to fix it than it is to clean it up, and they just said, yeah, but that's FEMA, not Army Corps.
Right.
So I did ask facetiously if maybe they could wrap it into the Cape Bridge project, and they 30 million out of 4 billion, you wouldn't even notice it.
Susan?
Yes, my question would be, why would we want to walk away from the 11 million, 10 million, whatever it is that Army Corps is authorized to spend up to? I just feel like if we could get them to significantly downsize the project, I wouldn't want to walk away from that money.
The question was, how else we do it? That's how we do it. We can talk to the Army Corps about if we only wanted to do a portion of it.
Right.
If we did a portion of it, would we get $10 million? Probably not.
Probably
We'll
not.
get a small percentage of that. But then what we can down to is the Army Corps would then say, okay, we ran it through our little machine here. And doing that 600 feet does not provide the protection necessary for us to move forward with the project. That is something they could do. Or whatever they're, so we'll have those conversations with them. And then we'll have to come back and say, this is the best way forward, you're doing this, down this road, that way.
And does Army Corps, are they required to get all exact same permits that you would have to get.
They're not quite as hamstrung as we are.
Right.
The
Because I
federal,
thought that was one of the benefits of working with the Army Corps, is that they're allowed to do certain things that we can't do just doing straight ourselves.
again, I defer to Kevin, but from my last conversation, it seems like the federal requirements are not catching up with the state. So some of the things that we would maybe leaned up from the state requirements, the feds are now requirements, and a lot of it, they're talking, they want us to do beach nourishment on a lot of these projects.
Well, I'll just close by saying, let's not have the perfect be the enemy of the good. And if there's some way of cobbling together some money with the Army Corps of Engineers and giving ourselves a lot less, taking on a lot less, and it obviously wouldn't be perfect,
Just
but
to give the board an idea of some of the stuff we're dealing with, on Fair Cliff, we have 4 named storms that we're trying to fix.
oh,
We were ready to go, and then coastal zone management came and said, we want you to do beach nourishment. Okay, so we started looking at beach nourishment, and then marine fisheries came in and said, well, wait a second, if you do beach nourishment, that's turtle habitat or something. So now I have this alphabet soup of state agencies giving me conflicting directions. Meanwhile, we're just going, we're just trying to fix this. We gotta get it done.
Well, maybe what we need to do is like go back to what we did back in, 2015, 2016, and bring all the parties together at that table, like all those different state agencies, because it's the only, you know, you put them in the room together, we did that once before, we should probably do that again.
We had them on TV together, but we haven't had them.
Yeah, but let's put them in the room together.
Okay.
I think we should do that, to make sure that we don't keep getting that.
And just from our standpoint, you know, we so appreciate it, you know, commend everybody. I mean, I think we're all in this together. I mean, it's the whole town that's gonna be incredibly affected, not just us that living down on the point. Yeah, we'll get the brunt, the initial brunt of the storm, but the whole town is gonna really be involved from this. And we just thank you all, and we're trying to do the right thing with, you know, you explained the article, I'm sorry, my mind's gone. But it's just that we're all trying hard,
Yeah.
and we see in the last year and a half, it's really changed. And if you haven't been down there, just go down, and those pictures are pretty
We
bad.
got the other ball, we got all the other photos as well. so-
Yeah, and we thank you.
Just quick, so I want to give
Just a
Karen an
quick comment.
opportunity to.
Just as a parent, for the past 5 years, my kids, you know, they walk to the, almost a mile, half a mile to the bus stop, and I've stopped them from walking the walk. And knowing kind of, unless you sit there on a Saturday and Sunday, you don't realize the highway traffic of children going to the general store, or, you know, people walking the dogs on the wall. It's used as like a very scenic sidewalk. So I just a little concerned that it's not gonna hold them up.
So we all, you know, I can just say all of here, for this, sorry. There are a ton of competing priorities, right? So that's what we're faced with as well. So we also have to understand, you know, if the $7 million gets approved, moves forward, you know, what does that impact on our taxes, our budgeting, and we need to do that homework as well, understand that, because we've got water treatment plant that's already been approved as a process, which is also critical. We've got the schools, talking about $120 million school, which is coming up in the spring as well. So there are a lot, we all know, we've been doing this for many, many years. There's a lot in Scituate to take care of, so we try to do our best to balance everything and to protect those areas that need to be protected as possible. I want you to understand the predicament that we're in as well, to serve the entire town too. But we certainly recognize that this is a gem and a very important area for all of us. And now I'm gonna be quiet, go to Karen.
Can I just say one thing?
Can I just let
Yes,
Mary
yes,
ask it? Okay. She's very patient.
But I've been scribbling notes and I crossed out a lot of the cover ones, but I don't have a lot to add, but I want to commend you guys as always for being so thorough and thoughtful about your advocacy on this. I haven't been down there since, I don't know, probably 6 months, and it is shocking, the difference. I don't think anyone in this you know, that works in this field, or, you know, on this project, doesn't understand the impact of trees there. And that is actually where my question is. I think, you know, our town administrators definitely marching in the right direction. We have things to do. So I have two questions. One is, if we pivot away from the Army Corps, does that diminish Senator Markey's enthusiasm for an earmark if we're not working in the Army? I know it may be an unanswerable question, but I would be.
Well, the EMI would have to be different.
Pardon me?
It might have to be different, because right now the EMI would give the money direct the Army Corps to do it, but on the Army Corps, I'm not sure how that works.
And what's the timing on that?
It's split, so that's the ways to go.
Okay, so I think to the chair's point that, you know, we have a real situation, a real problem, and just like North Scituate, where we're gonna run towards solutions as hard as we can and funds as hard as we can. I wanna think about what we're gonna do. I mean, we started this meeting, you guys weren't here, Jim's, the town administrators report at the beginning, where you talk, what is it, the almanacs, it's not gonna be a nice winter. We have, you know, property, but we have public infrastructure that is at risk now. So I would think that we, you know, I'm gonna look at it, and, you know, it's all, as the chair said, we have budgeting issues. You know, we're not gonna be able to fix it this winter. You know, tomorrow we say, yep, let's go, it's not gonna get done this winter. But we need to give some thought to, reinforcements to that area in the short term. I had not seen the current condition of that one section. It's a real problem, we get a big storm. So that's my 2 cents on that, and I know it's, a lot of it's unanswerable, and you don't wanna, you know, Band-Aid's not gonna do it. So I think your suggestion of having a revised summit or a renewed summit is a really good one to get everybody in the same room and address the short, medium, and long-term plan. It's not gonna get better. That's what I have to say.
Dave, want to wrap up? I know you had one more thing you wanted to say.
Yeah, just one more thing. Yeah, it's a lot of money, it's $7 million, and that's not gonna be the whole price. Just imagine cost to the town if you have a major break there and you lose the heart. I don't even like to think about it, but it's a real possibility, and it's not just a structural damage of the bird, either reputation or something to the house. That's not reputation now. Who's gonna manage in the voting community if there's this break, and it won't go away after it's fixed. So you see terrible potential there, so I'm just hoping that, you know, it sounds like, I'm encouraged what I'm hearing, really, it sounds like everybody understands the problem and they're willing to come to some kind of.
We do, I agree.
And finally, I think it's an excellent idea like that. Everybody come to a power. Well, and Kennedy, and Connor, and Dean, and everybody else we can possibly try to figure out a way to get some fun.
So I'll take that and I'll work on that with Jim.
Thank you.
Just because I think it worked in the past for us, and I think I still. Not doing that, but that's all. Any other questions?
One more little kudo. We talked to Andrew last February. We wanted to get a letter out to. What was that letter? Asking for a meeting. Yeah, we weren't getting nowhere at all for 2 years. So the letter really,
Good writer.
at least we now have some here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in,
Yeah.
and this won't be the last discussion, I'm sure.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Good evening. All right. Mr. Snelling. BBC. Dan, our chair for the Community Preservation Committee. Talk about your special town meeting. We have an updated PowerPoint. Morning, tonight.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to come in front and present this information. I hope you got the revised presentation that came out this morning, because we had a meeting last night which did change some of the things that were on the previous version of the presentation. We could go to the first slide. This is the state of the funding for CPC right now for Scituate. We have about $2.2 million in various buckets. And this will be after the town meeting, assuming the current projects get approved. The one thing I would point out, I'm not going to go through all the numbers on the slide unless somebody has a question. The one thing I would point out is we do have over $1 million in community housing that we really haven't spent anything on new projects for community housing in about 6 years since the Boston Green. And we had some discussions on the desire to have some applications come in for community housing. I would like to see that money spent. We have two projects. One is an accounting correction. The other is one of the projects that's coming up. We have $9,000 that we're looking to allocate for community housing. That was a shortfall from last year on the 10% that's required by law. So with some of the estimates and some of the numbers that came in, we ended up being a little under $10,000 short. So we're looking to get that $10,000 to make up that shortfall. The next slide, please. One thing I would like to, if you could show it in presentation mode, that would be much better. Not sure how you can do that, but I'll just keep going. I did want to point out the over the years that the CPA Act has been in effect, the town of Scituate has received over $10 million, $10.5 million from the state in matching funds. Last year, we received almost $800,000. This year, we expect that would be significantly less, probably in the $500,000 range. And that's due to some of the things that are happening in the state. So, I would point out over the years, we have collected $23 million in taxes through the 3% funding of this, and received $10,500,000, which I think is a pretty good investment on the tax money for the folks in town. The 2024 projects, the next slide, we basically have one. This is the old slide. We do have the tennis courts design for $125,000. The pickleball courts feasibility study was withdrawn last night at our meeting, so that will not be on the agenda or the warrant for the meeting. Basically, we didn't feel the pickleball new construction was feasible to look at this point. There's too many things going on. We also discussed after your meeting last week, discussed using some of the existing tennis courts behind the old gates as a pickleball facility until things are more definitive as far as what we can do with the pickleball facility per se. The next slide, please. The Purple Dinosaur property study was also withdrawn, and that's the property behind the Purple Dinosaur playground that was purchased by the town. That study was withdrawn. There was an investigation of the property by the involved parties, and what they determined was it would not be feasible to put multiple fields, playing fields back there. You could perhaps have one multi-use field for soccer, lacrosse, etc. on that property. But because of the slope of the property, it would be prohibitive in cost to kind of put up fields there right now. One of the things that was discussed was using that property as passive recreation in some form. And I did have a discussion with the rec department about that. So that was with. So the one project we have is the tennis courts design. The existing tennis courts in the high school are in significant disrepair. They need to expand the facility in order to hold tournaments there. The project was started in 2022. And this is a continuation, and the application is really to include the existing conditions survey update, preliminary subsurface exploration plan, design development, including cost options for that, for the courts there, and project permits, community consensus meetings, make sure the abutters are happy with what's going on there, and a detailed design and construction documents, and project bidding services during construction. The cost of the final design, permitting, and bidding was quoted at $110,000, and there's a contingency of about $14,000 to make final request of more than $25,000 CPC. And as always, if the money's not used, it gets returned back to CPC. The funds of this request will be appropriated from the undesignated fund, and a future construction phase will be another project that I'm sure will be coming up, perhaps hopefully next year if this passes. So right now, this is a complete replacement of the existing courts at the high school and expansion of the space for the courts to go from 4 courts to 5 courts and build fencing and seating so that people can enjoy it, and also provide a surface that can be played on. And apparently it's difficult to do right now. That's it for us today. Real simple for this meeting. Thank you.
Dan, thank you. What category would the tennis courts come out of? Undesignated?
Undesignated, yes, which is typically used for recreation.
That's what, okay, that's what it said. The balance in there is pretty small, so I'm just curious. Just thinking ahead, how much the
Pardon me?
total project is going to cost eventually. Right, we don't have.
Well, we've had an estimate from one of the contractors that have been involved with other projects in town. And one of the quotes I have seen is about $1.5 million.
That's right.
And it could be, you know, depending on what they find, what they start construction.
Great. Small ask at this meeting. Does the board have any questions for Dan? Nope. Karen?
So the idea would be that we get the design done for the tennis courts right now,
Yes,
with the anticipation of coming to
the town meeting in April,
yes, in April, for the funds to do the construction.
do the construction.
And
Yes, which would be available in July, and then start the construction of the summer.
so when you look at what we've got total available, it's like $2.2 million. When do we get the new money in from the taxes? Is it in May, July?
It would be the estimated receipts that you collect in fiscal 25 that you can spend at the April town meeting.
Which
So
is
it'll be about
About $1.5 million.
It would be more like 1.9 to 2 million.
Okay,
1.8, I think we got last year, somewhere around.
so we would be able to theoretically afford it without having to do any borrow.
And just have to keep 30% of it would have to be set aside.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're hoping another large project doesn't pop up.
Well, if it does, who knows?
That's why they come for you. Karen, anything?
No, thank you, Dan.
All right.
Okay, thank
Dan,
you.
thanks so much. Thanks for waiting. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you again.
Have a good night. Okay. You guys want to grab your books, your committee books, and we start going through some interviews for different committees in town. Some of the most important roles, in my opinion. One of the best things you can do is appoint volunteers to serve on a variety of these committees, so, let's see, is Chief Richard Werner here, as advisor? Hi, how are you this evening?
My name is Richard Wetter, I live at 110 Hollis Street.
Thank you. Give us a moment, we're just going to have these lovely books that are put together for us that have details of all the folks that come before us. So we're getting to our veterans tab. So there's 3 openings this year. And we have a couple of different applicants. So Chief, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself, that'd be great.
All right, my life's work was Hingham Fire Department, last day as chief of department and emergency management director. I am been a member of the American Legion Post in Hingham for 25 years. Current fish writer. I served in the U.S. Navy for 4 years, active duty, 2 years reserve.
Thank you.
So I'm very familiar with military. And I know as chief, I served on the traffic safety committee for 8 years. And I know how hard it was for people to, to get people to volunteer and be on committees and make the committees work. So when I saw the advertisement for the opening here, I said, why not? So my wife said, So,
Much out of the house, right?
yeah. I did talk to the chairman this morning. He said, I meet in the first Tuesday of the month, so that's not too bad.
Well, thank you. You obviously have, great credentials. Is there anything about the current veterans? Have you been to any of the meetings?
No,
No, okay. I think we meet on Monday nights, Wednesday nights, Joe?
Tuesday nights.
Tuesday nights. Is that okay with you?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but the Legion meets on the 3rd Monday of the month, so that was no
Okay.
problem there.
Terrific.
Yeah.
On the board, any questions or Andrew?
I'm just amazed at chief folks, people like you who have dedicated their lives to serving their country, their neighbors, and their towns, wherever they live, and still raise their hand to say, well, I still want to dedicate, I still want to help out and volunteer, so I'm just blown away that you're here. Thank you for raising your hand to come forward.
My pleasure.
Susan, anything? Thank you. Very qualified.
Unbelievable.
Well said, Andrew, and thank you for volunteering. You're a perfect candidate. I just have one question, exactly, ditto what he said, but you did put other committees as, that you'd be willing to serve on. Why did you put veteran, I think you kind of answered this, but why did you put veteran advisory as your number 1? Is it because of your?
I think I saw 3 committees listed, and veterans was number 1. I didn't see anything about, traffic safety. I served on traffic safety for 8 years.
Yeah, actually, I don't even know if there are openings on that list. It's a great committee and it's been really instrumental in providing veteran services in the end. So thank you for your service and for raising your hand.
Okay, my pleasure.
Yep, I just did that. Thank you for your service and for coming forward. We'll vote at the end of the night, so
Okay.
you don't have to stay. It's gonna be a long meeting. But if you'd like to, you're welcome to. And we appreciate you stepping forward. So thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next, Tom Crow. How are you tonight, Tom?
Oh, good, thanks.
Good to
Thank you
see
so
you.
much for having me. I appreciate it.
All the times that I've known you, I didn't know you were a veteran, so.
Oh, that's so fun.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself
Yep.
and why you think what you think you should be.
Yep, Tom Crawl, 180 for Crash Road. Moved to Scituate about 7 years ago. And just recently kind of semi-retired from my day-to-day career in IT. I am a veteran as well as a service-related disabled veteran. I served the U.S. Navy from 1980 through 1987, and then in Navy reserves until 1989. I was stationed in such areas such as Keflavik, Iceland, at the NATO base, the Royal Air Force Base, and Scotland, as well as served in a direct support role. on US submarine space out of Rock, Connecticut. It was there that during my work on the subs that I suffered hearing loss and some other things that led to my service disability. I am fully involved in the VA healthcare, as well as a number of other organizations such as the VAB and other areas as well. What I'm looking forward to as part of the board is to be able to have a different perspective, maybe in terms of helping veterans transition from active duty into the veteran status in a community such as Scituate. I'm really looking forward to serving both of my communities, both Scituate as well as the military. And with that, some programs that I am involved in could be well service and utilized here at Scituate as well.
Once again, we have these extraordinary people that show up and raise their hand. Thank you for coming forward.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, I'm very interested in the VA healthcare problem that you have, because as good as the VA healthcare system is, it's not easy to navigate. And
Not at
so, I guess my question would be, we have an agent who works with people on issues related to that. I'm sure he could use any help in terms of, the navigation of that system.
Absolutely, it is that Dawn that you're referring to as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so Dawn was instrumental in helping me when I got to Scituate in terms of understanding additional programs
Yes.
and things like that. I would love to work with Dawn as well as other folks. Help a lot.
Because the communications is really important. I know from personal experience that at one point, my dad, who was a veteran, thought he was going to be eligible for VA healthcare. He sat with the agent down in Marshfield, we went through all the paperwork, we got to page 20, went, oh, he's not eligible. So I'm hoping that, someone like you who knows how to navigate the system could help with these things.
And there were a lot of things that happened with us, especially around the PAC regulations, the inclusion kind of issues,
Yes.
where initially claims were denied, but now they're being reexamined. So yeah, there's a lot of potential.
Great, thank you for volunteering.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I know Tom, so I know he's well qualified.
Well, I don't have any questions, I'm just thankful we have two overlays. I can't. I don't think
But no, I mean, again, Aaron just stole the thunder on exactly how to navigate that for the academies. The wealth of experience, tremendous asset. So, yeah. Not to avoid it later, but look forward to the work that may come.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you for coming forward. 'Cause I know being new to town it is hard to get involved sometimes. So thank you for doing that. And, it's a great working committee. There are a lot of great men and women on it today. So be a great asset.
Great, thank you so much, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So we will vote after these.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have lots of folks for the Scituate Bicycle Committee. So is Jeffrey Helm here?
Evening, thank you for considering the application.
Yep, and you could just Jeffrey, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I think, we heard a lot of visionary statements last meeting with regards to the committee, because it is new, so if you could just share, like, maybe what is your one vision that you see for the committee, and how you can contribute, since it is a new committee.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Like Mr. Carl, we're 7-year residents of Scituate, within all 30 years. You guys have to go and found an old farmhouse that was restored, did not down, not far out of Harvard. Been working sort of quietly on some volunteer things from Scituate and those good things, Nico. And went to college in Janssen, Warner. She did a trip, a bike and bars trip in Belgium. A year ago, my wife and I did the same trip. This year, we came back and said, we have to do something. I've been involved in risk management my entire career. I've been a volunteer board for a program called Driving Control. It's basically teaching safe driving. We trained a nonprofit. We trained about 38,000 children on being aware driving skills. Part of that we want to incorporate this bike safety. And that's where I think I could bring in a lot of committee. One of the things we look at is the curriculum and the DMV in terms of their driver education. Bicycles are only mentioned on 2 pages in that entire day, there's no questions on it. We like to work with both parents and children in terms of educating what are the rules for bikers, because we all get really annoyed when we see 2 or 3 bikers on Saturday morning side by side. You're trying to get to them, get to the soccer game, and they're really sort of rules that bikers need to be, and also motorists need to be. We want to incorporate that in our training. Safe routes to school are really sort of the other thing that I would love to be able to advocate. That I've always been a fitness person, and I've ridden the MS bike ride. Went to Boston, Provincetown, 8 years now, 9 years. I do the Alzheimer's bike ride, so I'm aware. I'm out early in the mornings, and I'm aware of the people that are on their phones, or just in a real hurry to get that. So we really like to design safe route to school. Work with the DPW as looking to redesign roadways. It's a lot cheaper to put in a bike path than or markers. Those are the kind of things I would love to sort of work with the city on those things.
Thank you. It's nice to hear that, and we had a couple of other enthusiasts last week who had bike safety top of mind as well, so really important, I appreciate that. Andrew, anything?
No, again, one here about the bike safety, I'm more than missing anyone that could bike from Boston, Providence, I get tired riding that. It's not that like Burger King, I get so tired, and so it's amazing that you can do that. No, again, I think having a focus on safety and understanding, I think it's great. So thank you for this.
Anyone else? Karen?
No.
Susan?
Great.
Okay, Jeffrey, thank you so much for coming in, and we will vote. We have lots of folks that came forward on the bicycle committee, so we'll go run.
Thanks.
Thank you. Is Jonathan Belver here? Hi, how are you? Good. Just your name and address for the record, and just maybe one of the main contributions that you'd like to make to the bicycle committee.
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Belver. I live at 32 First Parish Road, here in Scituate. I'm delighted to live here and bicycle tonight, hopefully safely, hopefully safely back. I would just love to lend my support and help and focus also on safety and awareness. So increase signage to the next to nil signs that exists in town, and any work that can be done with bike lanes, when there's repaving to happen or to occur, and that general awareness that I see every day when I bike to my work at Holly Hill Farm in Cohasset, or when I bike to schools, when I teach at schools about gardening. It's a great delight to see a bike rack at every school, all 6 public schools in Scituate. And delight to see, I think Nancy Warner counted 19 bike racks currently in town, in place in Kirk, indeed, right here at Town Hall, where my bike is resting. So more presence of bike racks to show that there are more bikers, and then to go along with that, simultaneously would be more signage and bike lanes, designated bike areas, which can look different in many different ways, whether it's completely separated from the road or just signage along a road, or a repaved road that has designated markers for bicycle, and multimodal is a phrase I've learned, more increased alternate traffic.
Is that what you mean by signage? Is more like the bike lanes, or what type of signage do you see?
Well, for instance, there's a road, there's a sign, share the road, and a picture of a bicycle. That is not ideal, but it does lend a driver of a vehicle, and I do drive my vehicle often. It lends awareness to the vehicle driver that there are other people transporting themselves on the road. So that's one aspect. An actual bike lane that is separated in this car-loving town would be welcome as well.
Great, thank you. Questions? I'm just surprised there are that many bike racks. Yeah, we need more, but that's a lot. That's good.
Like, yeah, like that, I mean, more, yeah, because I think every business in town should have one, it'd be great to let people know, hey, we love biking. That's great, like, I show up at a school like Wampatuck, there's on a, 6 months of the year, whenever they are in session, there's a good deal in good weather, there's a good deal of bicycles parked at those bike racks at Wampatuck School and other places.
Great, thank you.
Karen, anything?
We'll be safe going home, but
Yes.
I have to say it's remarkable, all those folks that could step forward to apply for this new position, who don't just jump on the bike occasionally, they're always on the bike. So I'm so happy that this initiative is starting to
Good.
have that perspective and really address those concerns.
Yes,
Good job.
thank you.
Anything else?
No, very important.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
And I'm feeling really lazy lately.
Oh, no, it's like riding a bike.
Is Daniel Hannigan here? Hi.
Good evening, Danny Hannigan, Fix Lighthouse Road, 30 years. Cycling is a passion of mine, it's hard to follow up after these guys have said pretty much what I'd like to say, and then more bike safety. I'd be interested in, I am retired now for about 7 years, so I do have free time on hands. Be interested in chasing down maybe some grants that allow us to maybe connect bike paths from Scituate, maybe to other surrounding towns. Possibly over to Wampatuck State Park, maybe coordinate with other towns and create continuous bike path. I've done a lot of long distance bike rides in my last 30 years. I've really had a lot of experience in the road. Other than that, I'd love to fit in somewhere somehow to be able to help. So that's it.
That's a lot. So thank you. That's not just it. You're probably the first one that talked about grant writing. Big list, really, that's great. It's nice to have that perspective because it's needed, obviously. Listening to the conversation earlier, you can tell that we don't have unlimited funds in town, so getting different grants for safety and whatnot, is gonna be important for this committee to accomplish what they want to do. So thank you for that. Go this way first. Anything?
Just, I should have asked this for anyone else, too. Do you ever do any like off-road biking, mountain biking or anything else for off-roading?
No.
I'm just curious, 'cause I know
Yeah.
there's some opportunity.
I usually do long distance touring, so I'm on the road.
So just curious, so.
Susan?
Well, I like the idea of connecting with other towns because some of the surrounding towns, especially Norwell, they have a lot of opportunity for bicyclists. That thing would be, I think that would be a very good thing to do.
Sure.
So I was intrigued by that and my ears perked up with the grant word as well. So, thank you.
Sure.
Anything additional, Karen?
No, thanks. Regionalism, that's a perspective nobody's really talked about, so I really appreciate that, thought. And how we can, other communities.
Yeah, I know Rockland ripped up the railroad tracks in the past, and now they're paved, and there's railroad tracks, and they've done that down the Cape as well, obviously, on the rail trails. And it lends itself not only to cycling, but for walking, dogs, kids, whatever, to use it as well. Gets safe off the road from them.
Great. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
waiting and for coming in.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
we'll vote later on if we have all the applicants, if we see them all.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
Yep.
Sorry, my eyes are going cross there. Sarah Doss, Sarah here? Hi, Sarah. Hi. What's your name and address for the record and what you think you should be, we're also here for the Scituate Bicycle Committee.
Hi, my name is Sarah Doss. I'm at 422 Country Way. I'm a relatively new resident of Scituate. My family and I moved here almost 3 years ago, but I've lived on the South Shore for over 20 years. My day job is I work at the Woodsville Oceanographic Institution. I'm a scientist and educator down there. My interest in the bicycle committee is connected to a number of things. As I said in my letter, sort of first and foremost, in our family of four, I think there's rarely a day out of the entire year you won't find one of us riding a bike around town. My younger daughter rode her bike to Gates Middle School almost every day, all year for the last 3 years. She'd show up in the winter with her galoshes on, defenders and everything. We'll see if she continues that in high school. My husband rides his bike to the North Scituate train station, commutes into town, and then rides his bike out to the where he works. And my older daughter and I ride recreationally around town all year. So we're avid users of the streets. We recognize there's a lot of safety issues, both for bicyclists and motorists, and bicyclists being sort of what we call vulnerable users. A lot of safety issues there. I guess the main things I would think to bring to the committee off the bat, and the previous applicant touched on a couple of them. I think I really want to get right down to things like applying for grants. I think we're at such a transition period where both at the regional, state, and federal level, recognizing that there's opportunities to enhance infrastructure and connectivity by bicycles, whether it's kids riding to school, safe streets to school, whether it's e-bikes, whether it's bike share programs. There's a lot of funding that's becoming available. I know, Scituate is part of the South Shore Collaborative, or community group through organizations like MAPC. So we're sort of partnering with all these other South Shore towns, and they've started to look into things. They'd be a great resource for us to reach out to right off the bat to help us organize as a region, as a town. I know the state has a lot of funding now available for bike infrastructure, signage, all sorts of things. So I think I could lend a lot. I do grant writing in my research day job for bicycles, but I understand that process. So I'd like to help out there, not sort of have to come to you guys and ask for funding. And then, I think the connectivity is important, and also just making people aware that a bicycle is a viable, safe, and fun way for transportation, especially within a town. I think a lot of people grow up riding bikes and they have fun as kids, and as they get older and then they have kids of their own, it starts to feel sort of treacherous, or feel like maybe to run to the store, I'm going to jump in my car. And I sort of thinking longer term would love to think that, in a town like this where a lot of things are really easy, ride to school or ride to the market or ride to the harbor, we could get a lot more people out using and sharing the streets that way and take more cars off the roads. But I guess I have a lot of those. I'm really excited. There's so many amazing applicants, no matter who you pick. I know it's going to be great to do so.
Yeah, and one thing, you bring up a good point. If there is a finite number, the committee, I forget what it is, it's here. 7. You can always go to all the meetings and participate, and you're just not a voting member, that's all. So all this great experience that has come forth, if you're not chosen by any chance, don't let that deter you, because sometimes folks sign up, they get appointed and then they can't complete it either. So it's you just stay engaged too. I'm just saying that to everybody. It's not just you. I don't want you to take that personally because you're the only person who said it. I just, there's just so many applicants.
Yeah, I guess just one thing I didn't mention just in terms of my background is I lived previously in Hull, and I did serve there on the Conservation Commission for 2 terms and the CPC for 1 term. So I'm pretty familiar with how committees work, the workload, how you interact with other committees in town and things like that. So while I'm not applying for those positions here, I do think that experience is helpful to a new committee.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly. That was my question. Okay. Questions, comments?
No,
I like the perspective, treacherous described my ride with my kids to the park this morning on a bike. So I do like the perspective of a parent, with, kids biking around town. Yeah, we don't all need to be able to like the Providence or Providence thing, so.
Although it's good to have that perspective.
Yeah, it's never like seeing your kid toddle off by themselves on the bicycle and make you go, oh my God.
Good perspective. Yeah, thank you.
I'll just say that to reiterate your point, Mark, when we have a new committee, there's inevitably a couple of people they get appointed and they just can't do it. So with a new committee, it's an opportunity. So, we're looking at a lot of people who are interested in this committee, which is really terrific. So,
Yeah.
I appreciate this enthusiasm.
Anything else? Well, thank you for waiting and thank you for coming forward. And
Thank you all for your service as well.
Well,
Good night.
good night. Is Russ Paulin here? Russ, hi Russ, how are you? You can come in and just give us your name and address and let's hear, the council on aging. So give me one moment, I just want to get to see 14. I'm not sure how many. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Russ?
I live at 24 on land. Senior. I'm retired. I volunteer at the senior center of Minnesota's. Sometimes I wash dishes, sometimes I serve food. Whatever I can do to help out. I've seen the programs over there become extremely successful and people taking advantage of them. And it's very popular. And I just, someone suggested, well, maybe you should get on board and see if you can just help out. So that's what I'm
Great. Well, it's nice that you have a lot of experience there. Is there anything by being on the Council of Aging that you immediately comes to mind as to what you would, anything you would want to implement differently or see as a need there that it's not being
really.
addressed?
I mean, I'm not at that level at this point. Washing dishes doesn't qualify for that, but,
I don't know, you see a lot when you're eating lunch. No one's volunteer.
but I think that the, programs that they're offering are just fantastic. I see that lives of people that I see every Wednesday and, some that I see outside of the center who have really taken advantage of what, the senior center is able to offer. Yeah, so I just think that I'll try to do whatever I can to help them improve. I think that the heavy lifting was done with the building. I think just coming up with the building was like a major effort for many people. And I'm just, tagging along to see if I can help out.
Thank you. Hey, Karen, you're our liaison, right?
I am the liaison, pardon me?
Any questions?
The only question, I'm not seeing your application here. Before you retired, what did you do before?
I was a manager for a consulting agency, and then I was a manager at State Street, and then at in Boston, Fleet Bank, Fidelity.
Bio after bio. Yeah, the reason I asked, is that the board, the Council on Aging board right now is in the final stages of working on an accreditation, I can say that right, accreditation as, forget the agency that does it, similar to libraries, where they have to go through sort of a rigorous analysis of the services provided and that sort of thing. So that kind of background favor is, once that gets implemented, that's sort of structural work that gets done on the board. So have you listened to any of the meetings or been able to attend?
I've not.
They usually meet at 5:30, I forget what day now, usually Mondays, is that a problem?
No.
Great, it's a great committee, thank you so much for, your willingness to get out of the picture. Well, no, you don't get out of the kitchen, I still need you there.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Anyone else say Jim there? Russ. Russ, thank you so much. It's nice that you're volunteering there today, so thank you, and we look forward to waiting later on. Okay, thanks for waiting. All right, I think that's it for everybody for committees, so thank you. Once again, great candidates. Here. All right, next is an update on the Lord Kingdom Plan. Jenny Evans. Steve Rafferty, right? So Ryan Vaughn, nice to see you, nice to see me.
Set the pictures of you of this. Okay, he's on top of it, right, Seth?
Thank you for this opportunity to come before you.
I don't really, I think you
No,
understand.
you-
That's
next.
really not gonna work, just next slide.
So, just to keep you appraised,
There's essentially 3 project elements ongoing right now. All seen the 3 utilities going in. Some of you may or may not have seen full-scale manganese contactors that are piloting at the old bucket facility. And then lastly, of course, the treatment plant design is advancing along. Next. So the Route 3A utilities, actual construction started on July 17th. As of today, it was 6,000 feet to go in linear feet. There were roughly at 2,000 linear feet already. Over 30% of the installation is in. We expect that construction will continue into November when the Mass DOT tells us we have to stop. We fully expect that all the large pipe will be in. There's some timing of services and side streets. We'll see if we get that all done before we have to shut down for the winter. We got a good shot at it. Things, the weather, been step in and change things. Final paving will be next spring. We'll have to for at least 90 days of winter. I don't know how to explain other than that work is on schedule and it's within budget. Town's been utilizing one of their engineering staff for the inspection. That saves some cost money. And that's been working out quite well. Next, please. Quick picture. We're putting 2 pipes into 1 trench. One pipe is lower than the other pipe. It's hard to see unless you're back in that box. The lower pipe will be the raw water coming from all over. We have the higher pipe. So the finished water main will replace the existing AC main that's out there. On the other side, you can see we compacted trenches, getting ready for paving. And they put some tape in this as indicated the top of each pipe. Next, on the manganese contactor pilot, we've been achieving things that from pilot standpoint we wanted to achieve. We have had some limitation on how much we can push through the existing vessels that we reutilized. So we're on a good day, we're doing half the flow coming out of old open buckets. We're like knocking all the manganese down. But what we're pushing through the contactors is forward the way we want to see it. We're getting 80 to 90% removal of manganese, which is an excellent removal rate. And right now we're in the midst of evaluating in the finished plant. We're going to wind up with 3 1 MGE size vessels. There might be a 40 or 50 week delivery time on some of these vessels. So we're right now looking at coming out with a bid package to buy those vessels ahead of time. Take one of them, because we'll have a done investment, we're all said and done, and put it in an old looking bucket. We've got 2 more summers we've got to get through before we get a new plant on one. So we know what's working. The other side of this is, if I can get to the next slide. So you can see those are the vessels we reuse, the small diameter pipe, and a little tough to push the water forward. But on the right-hand side, if you recall, when we talked financing this, we bought some pretty high-end instruments for manganese measurements that will get transferred to the new plant. One of the big things that's happened is it took close to 4 to 6 weeks for the operators and everyone to actually understand how these instruments work, how to calibrate them, how to maintain them. I like to think that when we put the new plant on, we just save 4 or 6 weeks critical startup time because people are now smart and trained and know what they're doing. Right? Next slide, please. So the Stearns Metal Water Treatment Plant, I'm going to go through several elements here. I'm going to talk about the detailed design status. I'm going to talk about the permitting status, construction cost estimate, the bidding and construction schedule, and then lastly, I'm happy to see the site layout and renderings. So the detailed design, we are well past the 60% design point. We are very much on schedule. The design work, all the building space needs and layouts have been completed. All the process sizing, tank size, decimals, everything else, all done. Preliminary piping layout inside this facility, all done. All the architectural concepts have been advanced and developed. The site layout and grading, which is a key sort of work project here, to try to be as efficient as we can and as considerate of the buffer zone we're trying to maintain. That is ready for the planning board review, and that's upcoming, coming to you first before the planning board, so everybody's aware of what we're doing. The ongoing work from here on is going to be focused on a lot of all the details. How does the instrumentation get wired up? How does the electric items get wired up? You know, where's the HVAC, facilities, structural design, the details of the rebar and everything else, plans, and finally architectural detail down to how you mount doorknobs and everything else. Next slide, please. The permitting status is ongoing. Good news is we early on got the NEPA process, put everything in front of them. They reviewed it and they said what you did was appropriate, comments there about what to do. But we didn't go sideways at all for the NEPA process. It's quite well done. We had a good some consultant. Kevin. We've had working discussions with the planning board staff, fire department, conservation staff, and the board of health, various elements that are inside the spot to make sure that as we come forward with detailed submittals that we're not going to be surprised. Planning board major site plan approval hearing is scheduled for September 14th. Conservation Commission wetlands permitting hearing will happen after the planning board. This time here, I don't expect anything that will change a lot based on the planning board. We might get some feedback or some issues that we'll have to address, but I think we're ready to go to the Conservation Commission in October. We have to submit the second system to the Board of Health. We don't know if we're gonna have to do a hearing or not. I think not, they might ask us to come before them anyways. Because oftentimes you size septic system based upon the building shape. You can alternatively size it on occupancy. This is a very large building for no occupancy. We think from all of our conversations that everybody understands that, but they may want us just to come in here. Mass DOT, we gotta go back to them for curb cuts. And Mass DEP has to approve the design. They're a key element in the sense that we want to get SRF money, and SRF wants to see all the permits in place, and also want to see the state is in agreement with what we're building.
So Steve, just for the public, MEPA is Massachusetts Environmental Protection Agency?
Massachusetts, MEP, Mass Environmental Protection Act. And it's an act that establishes that for certain projects, you have to come before it. Because it's a water plant per million gallons, you have to come before and talk about historical issues, plants, animals, wildlife, traffic impacts, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the key things on that was, is there any other site you could use that did not have as much impact as this site? And although it was a little bit of a lengthy process, the process that we went through between our initial, here's what we want to do, we're looking at it and coming back to the next town meeting. We actually did all of the legwork that was necessary to make the NEPA process go where it was smooth, so. Next, okay, construction costs, that's good. I can't tell you how shocked and or surprised I am in this conversation about construction costs. This back in November of 2022, early on, just building the footprint and whatnot, we used a number of factors that came up for cost with a contingency to build this thing, about $46,485,000. Well, since then, construction costs, if anybody's been out in the marketplace, construction costs have not gone down. They have gone up. And recently, they're starting to stabilize because of a lot of variability in residential supply chain. Well, since November 22nd, the design team and others be working on this. We have really worked hard to consolidate the structure, make the structure efficient, to shape the site and finalize things having to do with the residual disposals. So all the things that we've done to make the project better and more efficient. We did a 50% cost estimate. We are still at $46,485,000. Our contingency numbers actually gone up slightly, but I wasn't about to trim this whole thing down for the sake of showing $100,000. So if you had told me a year ago, our costs would come in at where they were at, I would have bet against it just because of the way the marketplace was. This team has been working really good, where we had a big building all laid out. Now a portion of the building on top, another portion of the building, things are fitting together much better. Other elements we reduce the size and part of the process design. Next slide. So where are we at? Wrapping up the design. This is a big project. We'll have general bids and file subbids. I think you probably all understand that. There's a general contractor, there's a subbid for electrical, subbid for HVAC, et cetera, et cetera. This is a job of the skill of general contractors and final subjects need to be pre-qualified. That process will occur in January next year, first of the month. We expect to be advertising and bidding through the period of February, March, and April. With a contract award for May of 2024. We want to commence construction in June. There's an SRF funding review step tucked in there. But once we've advertised and bid, we have low bidders on site, that should go well. Now, we expect this to take 24 months construction duration. We're going to give the contractor as much time in the day as reasonable given strike. We're on Route 3 right now, we reduced to 6 hours a day because of traffic. We're doing this construction site, probably 7 and 1 to 5 at night, just to really give them an opportunity to get in and get it done. As we're looking to have the plant online by July 2026. This is a schedule that has no flow. It's not a schedule that I'm going to sit here and tell you we absolutely will make. But I will also say that the team so far has hit all of their milestones and their dates. This is what we're working. Things can happen, but they do. You will be the first to know if that date's moving. Now, for the fun part, let's go to the next slide. So the site plan of the renderings. Quick reminder, this is a site plan that was kicked around a while back. Roughly the 15% sort of layout of the design. Since this is here, we've reduced the building footprint, reset backs, refined the process area. And now, next slide, not as colorful. This is where we're at. If you look at this plan, there's a single sort of linear building. The far right-hand side is low-grade subsurface disposal system for the wastewater from occupants. There are 2 lagoons, and all of the grading and all of the retention basins are shown. It's a traffic pattern. It's a little hard to see this, so let's go to the next slide if we can. That's the building. Okay. The building on the left-hand side, if you look down, the distribution trucks and equipment are on the lower level. And then the upper level is some operations area. There's in the sort of middle portion of the building is what I call the administrative area, which pay bills, people are working to answer questions. On the right-hand side now is the processor where the tankage is. It's a steel frame roofing system. A lot of elements here are intended to reduce the rate of runoff when you get a rainstorm. A flat roof, water runs off fast. Certain types of roof shingles, water runs off faster. So we've been looking at the durability, but we're also looking to minimize the rate of runoff and manage the runoff on the site. It's a challenge. Let's go to the next slide. This is a sort of a drone which gives you a little better sense of what's going on. You can see the building again. You can see Tap Factory Pond in the back. You see a sort of green open area. That area will get opened up as of the way. The ground is sloping uphill to the 2 residual lagoons, which you can see have some liquid in it. But if you look above and beyond those lagoons, you see some indentations. When it rains, that's where the water's going to go. Those are the retention basins. So.
And will those be left grassy?
Yeah, they're all around town. You can look around for them. The sides are a little steeper, but they're intended to have the water flow in them and soak back in. Yeah, so you get vegetate on the plant. Sometimes with meadow grasses in, sometimes you. I don't think we're at the detailed landscaping stage yet. Short and sweet here. I mean, I'm not carrying any bad news tonight.
No.
I'm not carrying any real surprises.
I have one question, it's probably more for Kevin and Jim. You know, in any public building project, we always have public meetings, public hearings, just to kind of keep folks updated. You know, is that, have you been doing that?
The next big one now will be the planning board submission. That'll be a public hearing with the planning.
Right, but are we doing any type of like edification for the community?
This is the first one.
Okay.
One.
But we don't have any plans to do anything larger.
Thought that was in the contract or education.
We do have some, yeah, we could do more of those, really, the big next one is the planning board, because that's the slow one. So,
Right, no, I understand all the official meetings that have to take place. I'm more concerned about making sure that the public understands it's a big investment, it's $50 million.
yeah, we can ask more of those.
I just want to make sure we do some sort of a public forum so people can get their questions answered. At some point, I don't know what the right point is, if it's
Maybe
after
when we
planning
get
or,
through planning board and conservation, we'll have a time,
yeah.
direction where we're
direction.
going. And then might be a good time to have a public meeting, bring the engineers in and let anybody come in and ask any questions they want about it. One of the things that Steve did not bring up, but I would like to bring up, is we're taking into consideration this new PFAS rules and regulations, which haven't come out yet. We know they're lurking there, and there's all sorts of talks of what they're gonna do, but we're taking that into consideration in plan design, so that we would be able to make some easier modifications to accommodate some of this stuff. We're even looking at, as potential to the wells that are in the area, maybe running the water, even mixing the water, if need be, as we run a food plan, to, do the PFAS. So, just something else food for thought.
Right now, we meet all the PFAS regulations, but they are gonna get significantly.
They're gonna change, yeah. Andrew, you wanna start?
So, I mean, just, I guess the big takeaway is number one, the building footprint size has been reduced even more we discussed basically year out, so that's been
We've
reduced.
not gotten bigger.
Or not gotten bigger, right, slightly smaller, not huge, but smaller. We're trying to future proof with PFAS, we're on time and on budget as it's.
Process decided that modified to allow for future PFAS business.
Susan?
And I just actually had a question on the green, because I know that was a big concern. So this plan is taking into consideration also saving the most trees for
Yeah, very, very,
maintaining the look as we try.
from the very get-go.
So all that grassy area over there needs to be grass.
That's a side slope coming up to that
So it
little
does,
pool,
okay.
okay? Well, it can grow in over time, but in order to construct this,
Okay,
we're gonna have to clear that area out and build that ground back up that edge. So this is roughly showing what we believe is the extent of what we have to clear in order to build this.
oh, gotcha. Okay, so it could be even less of
Over time,
a footprint over time.
In our last meeting, we even talked about sort of wildflowers or something else over there, so it doesn't have to be trimmed, so that we could, split the piece.
Yeah.
That was one of the ideas that came lots of problems.
That's a good idea.
So how big is the entire site? 15 acres, 11 acres?
I shouldn't have decided. I thought it was, you knew that we had to have 8 acres to build the facility. I thought it was an odd shaped parcel, it was just a little piece that cuts up like that. I think we thought there was about 13 or 14 usable acres, of which we're using right now about 7.
So my next question is, how much are we going to be clearing? How many acres of this entire site? Will people see the trees?
I will get you a number rather than guessing.
All right, I think that's important. I also think it's important, that I know we're not quite there yet, but it looks like, and I know this is just a rendering, but you start to look at these things and they look real, right?
Yeah.
But it's a rendering, it's not real, it just, so it looks to me like there's a lot of deciduous trees. So just FYI, I'd like us to look at as many evergreen trees as can be possibly planted, so that people don't have to look at this. We all know we need it, but I'm very concerned about neighbors not having to look at something that is, it's an industrial building, so so if we can just keep that in mind, when it'd be nice not to see any of this, whether it's winter, summer, fall. But progress. Thank you. Thank you for this presentation, we really appreciate it's perfect that, with all the changing parts that we're not looking at overages, and I appreciate that. I know we talked about this, but I've forgotten why, so if you could remind, there's nothing in the budget, nothing in the design that would put solar panels or alternative energy sources incorporated in the building.
At this time, no. However, under the building code, the roof has to be capable of carrying solar panels.
I think when I heard Kevin said, not, I mean, there was an consistency of one of the other engineering issues about using solar as a.
I believe as a town, we're already over 100% because
That makes no sense. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so
So
we're
it's
editorializing.
35,000 square feet in the building. I just, one design question, I couldn't figure out, on the side of the building, on the north side of the building, it looks almost like a stone wall that intrudes into, one of the
they have to build
houses.
that up for the septic system.
Yeah,
Septic
they-
system.
Oh, so
the
it's
site
a stone
slopes,
wall.
yeah, rather than having a long sloping thing, we use
Yeah,
some
retaining
blocks,
walls.
yeah,
And
landscape wall.
it looks like it's almost into the athletic site.
At the upper end,
Yeah.
if you come back to the slide, come back a couple slides. So,
Yeah,
no,
There you
one
go.
more, okay. One more. So,
Stop.
not this one, the next one. Stop, right there. So, this is where we're going via the Board of Health, you can see the area that's below grade up there. Okay, that will be grass and broken have flowers or whatever else over top. That's where
The
the
low
subs.
grade being towards the building, towards the facility. Yeah.
I don't have a pointer, sorry. Everything, this is where you saw that little piece of rock wall, right
Oh,
there.
no, I was looking, see the, it's almost like an arm up above that?
That,
What's that?
So
that
that's
is the path to the
pathway
cemetery.
grave, yeah, two graves, yeah.
That's for two folks that died from smallpox. There's two graves there,
In that little.
in that little
Square.
jar, in that little jug of land.
So that was another design inspection to retain that.
And that's part of Stern Meadows property.
On the property, line, yes.
I completely forgot.
You can't dig up graves without a special
Okay,
act of
so
the
but
legislature.
you were answering the question
And you have
about
to make an
the
assessment.
He was answering more about the septic.
septic is gonna be, elevated, is gonna be, grade system basically.
It won't look, hoping, or at least my thought is it won't look like a rate, like your typical raised system, because the wall is flat. Because remember, your grade is going downward the whole time. So I'm gonna keep it level, it should be about. Nice.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Just one about the 7 a.m. start for construction. It seems a little early, so like, it is, no. Is it is?
It's not by law,
I thought
really.
it was like 8 o'clock to 7.
What? Isn't it our bylaw? I think. It's all,
And I realize, I'm sensitive to your concern. From our side of it, we'd rather get this up and running
I
in
understand.
July that year rather than in
I get you. I mean,
December of that year.
So the question would be, do you start later and then stretch it out? I understand, it's just, that I thought it was 5 early. 7 a.m., not, or 8 a.m. that night. Bad enough.
So,
well, thank you. Are there any questions from the audience? I know there's some neighbors present.
So Dave,
Comment?
yeah, Dave McCormack, 21 Stark Road, and I'm in a butter. So I have a few questions. You mentioned about the roof. If you went back to maybe a prior right there. So you said you reduced the footprint of the building. What's the actual size of the planned area versus the auxiliary space? Like, let's say the parking, that's covered parking, the meeting rooms, the offices, that type of, what, I mean, if this, let's say if this was in your backyard, what would be the minimum size that you could build this plant in that building with 32,000 square feet? Just ballpark, how much of it is actually the plant itself and the stuff that would be, you'd have to support the plant?
I don't have these numbers locked into my head. Can I walk them point? Yeah, sure. So,
You want to have a sign? Yes, yeah.
If you stand on this side.
Stand on this side.
Yeah, I have it on my.
That's fine.
computer, so.
This is all tankage through here. That's the treatment process area. This little space in here is some administrative area. The operators have to store things, have an area to work out of. That's on the upper level over here, and the lower level is where the distribution trucks would be. If I go back a couple slides. Again, stop, up.
The
Back,
green ones.
back one.
Yeah.
Okay, in this layout, which is
This
where
is
we
the
are
old
before,
render.
this portion here is now at this end and underneath everything to get it away from being here, because it was the ground sloping. This has gotten about half of that size. And a portion of what was in here, which was the tankage, is now also moved on top of that. So that's what we've done to get done. I can get you the numbers.
Yeah, I'm just curious, you said that the square footage is reduced, but you're stacking some of it on top of each other because of the grade.
You also, so come forward a couple slides. Okay, so no, go back one now. You can see over here, you can see the garage doors down on the lower level. There's the superintendent's office.
Right, so you could share what the plant, the actual plant and the stuff that supports it versus what are the other spaces that are in there.
Well, I didn't bring all the floor plans.
Right.
We can get a copy of floor plans.
Right, I guess where I'm going with that is, it still seems quite large in relationship. I understand you have to have other processes in there, but versus what's currently, would this be a standard sized plant for a town of this size? This many square feet, 32,000.
Yeah, I'll say yes. Okay, the existing plant you have has zero redundancy.
Correct.
Okay, it can't treat the flows that it should treat already. If you look at the existing plant site, there's a bunch of other little buildings that spread out all over the site. They're all consolidated now into this one building. So.
So just sticking with the building itself, you also brought up the roof and the fact that you didn't go to a flat roof. So now you have this dormer roof. What is in that roof so by creating this more architecturally styled roof like this, what's up in that attic space? Is that all empty space like in someone's home?
No. So I'll back up. If you ask if this was a conventional treatment plant someplace, and there was slightly different issues about how you could dispose or handle stormwater runoff, you would put a flat roof on it, and you would mount HVAC equipment on the flat roof. You'd build a parapet wall to hide it from the site, okay? However, the runoff from a flat roof, because of the way it's built, is a percentage more runoff. So the HVAC equipment, the ventilation equipment and everything will be inside each of these gables.
Right, but couldn't you could put the HVAC in a pit behind the building, right? And have air handlers that come up, feed ductwork through there so that you wouldn't have to put it on.
If we did that, then we're gonna have to push the boundary line group that we clear out, whatever the distance of that HVAC equipment.
Right, but in a building like this, you'd probably be looking at a couple of air handlers. You'd only be maybe looking at 10 feet and you'd have a pit below grade, so you would impact it. But it just seems like there's a lot of roof there that's up very high. I would anticipate seeing more of a building sit like what you're saying because of the runoff, there are ways to treat the runoff from the roof. And just stay with me for a second. You see the current building, it has a flat roof, right? And you mentioned that in other towns, you probably put in a flat roof. I know so basically the only reason that you're building a roof that's that height is to accommodate HVAC equipment, which you could put split systems in there.
No. Ask a couple different questions, okay? Can I? Go forward on the renderings so I can look, give me the next, okay. No, you were there, no. One more. Stop. You see these indentations in the ground? When we change the roof here, those indentations have to get bigger and larger, which means we have to cut more trees off and do the side slope there. Okay? That was one of the reasons to go to the gable roof, in the way that we're directing water off this roof to some areas out front. Now, we also, when we were looking at architectural features early on, we felt that a big box with a flat roof was gonna look very industrial. And that a building with some gable roofs would look more like barns or whatever, and that, so we were working within that concept, okay?
Okay, so what is the actual height of the building?
I will get those for you. I don't
Seems
like,
that's very,
I don't like to say numbers.
Yeah.
Well, and this data is kind of an overview for us, so all the actual heights and dimensions and all that, I'm sure will be more detailed for a plan.
No.
That will be.
Yeah, that would-
as well.
not step, but the part that I struggle with is that you're 50% in. So now, my opinion, while I'm making some points, it's definitely changing that, because, you went into the side of the hill. What's to stop us originally from taking the building and sinking it down lower into the ground? So that it would be, portions of it could be below grade, in a basement type of setup, rather than now we've got, the gymnasium that's pretty high along there. It could have been sunk into the ground, and you wouldn't have something that's that obvious as you come, down 3A.
I would imagine some of it is something to get rid of.
The part at the bottom is,
Well, no, have you ever gone into our current water treatment plan to actually see what it looks like?
No.
Okay, I want to do that because
Yeah, again, I'll step to the side of it.
much of it is in underground.
This whole portion of the building here goes down about 20 feet into the ground. That's the tankage that's in there. Okay, so that's, if the hill's sloping like this, we've cut deep into the hill here for all the tankage. And then we've lined up the elevation coming across so that operators and equipment and piping can go on a linear basis between all the tankage.
And, okay, well,
I can go on.
I know. And they're all good questions, because they're all things that,
I just think that is
we
one of
want
the
to
ugliest buildings I've seen on that.
yeah, you know what, water treatment plants aren't really always
I know,
aesthetically pleasing to the eye, so it's, we're not gonna spend the money on making it a beautiful building, we want it to be functional, effective, efficient, and, if you're concerned at that you're gonna see it through your backyards, I think you guys live. I think Karen's point of putting a lot of evergreens instead of clear trees is a great point, to help with that.
So I just one last thing, I know I ate up a lot of time, and I appreciate it, is the whole schedule, right? So you're under the gun to get this online. If there's anything you can do to not have working on the weekends, right? So you're behind schedule, now you're working Saturdays over 2 years. If there's any restrictions that you can put on the fact that you have, after hours working, I don't know what the bylaws are in town about working on Saturdays.
Can't remember what the library and.
I don't believe there's a restriction on working on Saturdays, but generally, you generally don't. We can't work holidays, we're not supposed to work Sundays. I don't think there's a specific restriction on Saturdays.
Is that
Steve?
something that a condition that the planning board would address at that point? Time of operation?
Yeah, I just from,
Stephen, in terms of the schedule, just plan on working on Saturdays, or just 5 days a week?
5 days a week, and typically it's 40-hour work week, because when you go 40 hours, it's time and a half, depending on the way.
contractors, I'm about to say contractors don't typically want to work weekends. What we find is early on, there's gonna be a lot of more heavy equipment and they're digging and doing things, right? Once the building structures up, it's a different working group. And sometimes just because of somebody wants to paint a room, they don't want to paint another work when they're in there, they'll say, is it okay for us to paint on the weekends? And then we come and we see how people feel about having, 2 or 3 painters in on a weekend, nobody's gonna build it, but it's not a day one, you're going.
I think I totally sympathize totally sympathize. I mean, I'm directly learned to the Toll Brothers of that 4-year. See, so I understand if see it, certainly talk to us to make sure that those concerns are known, because I understand when that, when it's so close and you have the construction for a long time, you have to have good communication and stuff to make sure.
That's what I think.
Talk to somebody.
Sure, thank you.
Any other questions?
Where's the southern exposure in that? The left side, the front?
Yes,
Left side.
the left side.
Yeah.
side?
Yeah,
Yep.
if we go back one slide. This is the southern face of the building.
So, someone mentioned solar before, there's not a plan to put solar to power this, to help power the plant? Or maybe we have sufficient solar from our other array that covers the set?
Yeah, but you wanna answer some of the questions?
My understanding is that we have maxed out with 100% municipal solar, the part that's undercut, but one of the biggest problems with the solar is sometimes it comes in, it's not the correct design curve, and we're gonna have a lot of technical equipment there. I get a little concerned if we ran direct line to solar,
Yeah, it's difficult to incorporate the solar.
unless we have storage.
It's difficult to incorporate the solar energy into this facility, because we've got some pretty large motors, 150 horsepower motors, which are the large electrical demands that come on and off. What we will be doing is putting LEDs in, so you get high premium efficiency motors, but.
So
the
if I
solar
could
is
step in,
on
Steve,
site.
if we put solar in there now, the solar would go back to the grid, and then we would take power from the grid. It's not a storage facility, we can handle that. If the solar was, I want to say beamed in or piped in directly into the plant itself, it wouldn't be that usable because it is I don't want to call it dirty sine wave, but it's not the perfect sine wave for some of the equipment we have. It is delicate. There's a lot of when we start up like a motor, the motor doesn't just kick on right to 100 horsepower. There's a VHF that takes it on slowly and then builds it up so we can conserve power. There's a lot of power conserving systems that are going to be set up in this building. But, we will gladly look at solar, and I'll talk to Jim about it, and we'll see if we can't find any other areas for it. It's just just something to be possibly one direct link for the project.
I'll take 2 more questions,
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it's a really big thing, I know, like, limited time. I'd like to ask you a couple quick questions. I mean, first of all, comment on that, I mean, the comment that was thrown out on Tom Stevie on 504.
Thanks.
Was that it was gonna be clear cut. I mean, that looks to me like a clear cut. I mean, it's clear cut, probably 80% of the land. I mean, I you didn't say exactly how many acres are there, how many acres you're using. But I think that's gonna be a pretty shock to the town. Because that's not the way it was presented before. There was gonna be some buffers, but if you go back to the other slide. Right there, yeah. I mean, that shows, 6 trees or 8 trees in the front. That's not what was shown on the plan, so I think you're looking at another, people are gonna be shocked and go, wow, that looks like a safety building, right? But we all know that the negative comments around the safety building. The other quick question I have for Steve is, Steve, when you're talking about the manganese, right? If we go back to that slide, the manganese testing that you had, these are, the manganese testing was out of Old Oak and Bucket, right?
So, yes,
Okay, and so why are we, are you gonna take water out of Old Oak and Bucket? Is that what you're gonna do? Or you taking water out of Old Oak and Bucket?
That's the water line we're putting in now, to take the water from Old Oak, but we're gonna have to serve that.
Brings up to turn back, okay, and you want, how much of the capacity, so today, how much do we actually use from the new water treatment plant? I just wanna understand some number. How much do you use out of the water treatment plant today? On a monthly basis or a daily basis?
so. Correct me if I say this wrong, Kevin, but I believe that existing treatment plant if it's operating the equipment that it has can put out 1.2 million gallons in a given day. You're,
Everything, 1.2 million comes out of that reservoir today, it goes to the water treatment plant.
on a day that they're maxing out, yes. But your permit for utilizing water out of that says that you're allowed to take up to 3 million gallons of water on any one day. You come to peak demand.
You just asked another good question. So, because I know we're stretching that, all the wells in town, they don't go through the water treatment plant, right?
No, they're not, no.
Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, if you say that you use 1.8 million gallons, that's what you said before, that was that number that was always thrown out. 1.8 million gallons today, 90% of our wells feed directly into the water source, doesn't run through the water treatment plant. How is the water treatment plant even being used at a rate of 1.2 million gallons a day? I don't get that. Because you're saying you wanted to rest the wells, you wanted to rest these wells. You know, 90% of our water comes through wells. The numbers don't add up for me, I don't really understand how.
Want me to take a step?
No, I want to hear from Steve, if you can, I really would like it. If we're using 90% of our water through wells, there's a certain percentage of that comes to the water treatment plant. What is 90% of 18?
I don't think that's an accurate stat.
90%?
Yeah, what you're saying is we
So-
could, if we could use all our water, our wells all the time, and just use that 90%.
That's what we're doing.
But there's two factors that aren't in your equation. One is our water demand is different at different times of the year.
Sure.
So in the summer, 4th of July, we're running at 3 million gallons a day. So our permit has an average, I won't get into these on that.
Sure.
So we need both sources. But what they've explained about if you try to run your wells at full capacity all the time,
Yeah.
you will deplete that resource. So you can't, am I saying this correctly?
You're saying it correctly, and the other thing is that we may have a well that I'll just use easy numbers, we could get 100,000 gallons, a day out of that particular well. That's great, and we can get 100,000 gallons out of it in January, but come August, we might only be able to max get 50,000 gallons out of that well, because as the groundwater table goes down, there's less and less water that's available. So by being able to use the plant is we're hoping that we can balance that and make ourselves more resilient in case of emergencies.
So this is also being sized with PFAS treatment if we need it, to take some of our wells and bring them into the plant to treat PFAS. So we don't have to put PFAS treatment in every well in. So there's actually a well down the back of Old Forge. We could run that up to the plant and run that to the plant so it can treat it for PFAS and stuff.
Sure, so
All right, so 1 minute. All right, one follow-up, so I give the other gentleman an opportunity, then I want to move on. Go ahead, Steve, I said, go ahead, last question.
Okay, so you're telling me that we take out 1.2 million gallons a day out of Old Oak and Bucket or, any of the reservoirs? Is that on a daily basis? Is that average, or is that on a big day, a small day? I'm just trying to figure that out.
It'll be a big day.
Was it?
That'd be a big day. 1.2 from the plant would be a big day.
What's an average day? What's an average?
I don't know if you'd say there's an average day, we've had the plant shut off in January, we've had to work on it, and we get all our water from the wells. But we had to turn the plant on at the beginning of February, and we wouldn't be able to supply enough water. So there's really not an average day, I hate to say that, there's really not an average day. In the summertime, it goes like that.
Just say it's a lot of factors.
The reason why I'm asking this, I'm just making sure that we're thinking ahead, right? It's not one of these things that Scituate's doing it again, where we're kind of not thinking all the way down. Is that I know that the reservoirs are not, right? Can we handle, and that, that thing runs, it's frozen in the winter, okay? It runs dry in the summer. Yes, we've had a pretty good summer this summer, right? But are we putting all our eggs in one basket where that reservoir, it's not really a reservoir, we don't call it a reservoir because we drink out of it. But it's a pond, right? It's a pond that was made for, you know, it's considered a reservoir, but it doesn't have a lot of capacity.
So there's also a parallel project that's also in the permitting stage, which is to make that reservoir deeper and wider, and that's still on the table and the works as well. So I think
What is
it's-
that? Is the regular town know about that?
Yeah, it's been being discussed for probably 7 years, 5 years, easy. It's been a very, very long process. So that also, it's been going through the engineering and permitting process, so that is being addressed.
I think that's actually a wonderful question, are we laying our eggs? It's great question, because I think going through this process, the understanding of knowing to rest our wells, the understanding to be looking at PFAS ahead of time, now, before state regulations come, being able to bring those other ones in, I think this is a great example of trying to diversify to make sure that those wells will be there if we need them. Looking forward to, right, raise the reservoir, but still be able to get what we need to do. So I think it's a great question we're trying to address, to make sure that we have capacity and quality at the same time.
Thank you. Sir, name and address?
Scott Spruso, 35 Stearns Road, the direct butter to the plant. It seems like the major shift in conceptual layout, whoever's willing to just go to the conceptual layout.
So can you go back to the 15%?
That's big. One more, no, conceptual, yeah, that's the old one. So the next one, the current one, seems like the major shift is the lagoons are going more towards 3A, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So they're significantly being moved towards 3A.
yes.
Okay, great. And the, is it not reasonable to ask that all of those trees, as Ms. Connolly said, are deciduous, they're gonna lose all their leaves, they're all oak, a lot of those, they're all gonna lose their trees or leaves. Could a wall of giant arborvitae be planted, mature, between the current oaks and the plant, just a line of them that would create a natural barrier that you would not have to see the plant from those butters who are all speaking today?
Yeah, I think that was a great point that Karen brought up. I think it's something we certainly can take a look at.
We haven't done a landscape plan.
Yeah, we haven't done any of that yet, but I think it's great feedback, and might not choose an arborvitae because the deer will eat them and they'll be gone after a year. But we'll make sure that we evaluate that, because it's a very valid.
Yeah, keeping the current as you see, but adding a line in front of it of straight trees, arborvitae, whatever you
Yeah.
would be appropriate, so that it is year round, that we're only looking at trees from our backyards.
Right, no, I think that's great.
Seems like a fairly inexpensive compromise.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you. I think a lot of discussion there, some takeaways.
Like September 14th is the planning board. They've already onboarded their chair consultant.
September 14th?
And will trucks be traveling the back of the building? Because on the old plan, there was a path for trucks, and now it seems like the trucks are gonna be entering through 3A on the left. Is that correct?
Come to the, I can't remember where I'm going there. Go back, go back a slide. Back a slide, one more slide.
Yeah, it looks
There
like
was
it
a
goes.
driveway in the back in the
Yeah,
old,
we-
it
we-
seems like that's moved.
If the fire department has to get in, and or if we've got a large truck delivery, we need to have an in and an out. Normal distribution traffic will come in and out here, go underneath. There's no reason for them to be driving around at all.
So short answer is yes.
The back of the building will
Goes
be used
around.
for emergency.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fire department requires.
Understandable. Just as far as daily traffic will be handled as well.
Daily traffic should be on the bottom.
I know.
Okay. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
John.
My pleasure.
You too.
Thank you. I'd love to see it live.
All right. So Kevin, we're still up, I believe.
I am.
We have some contracts to discuss. Right. So the first one is the new Ford F-550. That's the first one I have.
Wasn't it?
Oh, you have 350 first,
Okay.
sorry.
So
You go first.
at last town meeting, $80,000 was allocated to the transfer station to get a truck so that we could help keep the transfer station open and bad weather. Provide some contingencies, we don't have to necessarily bring in people, guys at the transfer station can clean up and as well as do some salt and sanding themselves. So we sourced the truck and basically we're a little bit on budget on that, and that's it.
Do we have any questions? So the F-350 is the second one in our backup, guys. The one that Kevin was just $68,000. Town meeting approved $80,000. Any additional questions? Do you have a motion? Yeah.
Move that the select board award the contract that was renewed for F-350 from government commercial headquarters in the amount of $68,206.02.
By Mr. Goodrich. Second by Ms. Canfield, all in favor? Aye. All right, now we have the F-550, which that's, guys, just go back on. Okay,
So the 550 money was allocated at the last town meeting. The sewer department needs a truck with a crane so that when we have a sewer pump failure, we can move it with the crane as opposed to trying to pull it out by cover lines and ropes. So we are incorporating the truck. We built the truck out. Originally, we were planning on using something in the 350 size, but to accommodate the crane, we needed a larger truck, so we went with the 550 on this. Cost had gone up, it was going to come out the additional cost out of the school.
all right, so town meeting approved $90,813, so the balance of $24,250 for that on the retainers. Question?
Motion.
Motion?
Move
Hope we
that
don't have to use it.
Move that select board award the contract to purchase a new Ford F-550 from a government commercial headquarters in the amount of $116,028.65.
Moved by Mr. Goodrich, second by Mrs. Canfield, all in favor? Aye. Are you doing the purple dinosaur flavor as well?
I am in Marie's here also. She came in and she's still here. You have a phone to sleep or anything else?
I
Sorry.
can't believe it.
Yeah, jump on it. Oh, yeah.
Just name and address. Marie Casella, 35 Briars Lane. Welcome. Thank you.
So we've been working with Marie. She had CPC money. We do the purple dinosaur, and Christine from our office has also been a great help in it. We've been working with MEO Ryan, which is the consultant to Marie originally reached out to. We've been working on some plans and getting some stuff together. They're on the state bid list, but I'd just like to preface the award on this contract. We had some questions on procurement, so provided they get all the answers we require on the procurement, that would be the contingency. I'd say we'll wait for some contract. If it wasn't, it might affect it.
So what do you want the contingency to be? Just, I'm sorry.
Just
to be clear.
contingent upon, award the contract contingent on,
Meeting her current laws.
yes.
Yeah, there indicates one contract, but the rest of it didn't indicate another. Kevin reached out to the company, but hadn't heard back yet.
Okay.
See what the other government, state contractor.
Right, what it covers, what it actually covers.
Originally, Nancy and I spoke about it, and we were gonna try to go with the state bid list for this because they were listed on the state bid list, and that's what we did a lot of work with. They had shown themselves doing it in 14 other communities, but when they provided everything, they didn't have all the correct numbers for the contract, so we just wanted to make sure it was all set. We think it is, but obviously it's a lot easier to put a contract out from something the state bid list than going for a design engineer and spending everything, so that's what we're planning.
Well, thank you so much for all your work. It's gonna be great to see that, it's updated, you know. We've seen it for 30 years ourselves, so it's been there for a long time. Many of our kids have played there, so thanks for volunteering to help push that forward.
Yeah, it wasn't very difficult, Great Britain town was able to jump in and get this seed and
Yeah, thanks for your crew helping us.
That's one of our favorite types of projects. Almost as fun as truck day. Did I tell everybody it's Friday? Hopefully.
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
raining.
we're talking about it. All right, do I have a motion?
I'd love to make this motion since this was the first public project I worked on.
Oh, there you go. Goes
I'm
around, goes
feeling
around.
really old and I'm so glad it's gonna be done over, right? So. Move the select board award the contract to N.E. O'Brien and Sons to complete the reconstruction of the Brooklyn Dinosaur Playground at the amount of $233,098.20 pending the Department of Public Works confirmation of procurement.
Second. Moved by Ms. Canfield, second by Mrs. Connolly, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for staying so late, sorry.
That's all right, it's more interesting than watching TV.
Oh.
Don't be your attorney. What did you say?
Works in the work.
Oh, I learned something about the water treatment.
There you go, see?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then Kevin, landfill monitoring and bond.
Yes.
So seeking to consult with the Time Bond Environmental Consulting Company to sample groundwater and air quality around the Cap landfill on Driftway.
So we have time bond for the past at least 15 years have been doing all the monitoring and everything else around our landfill. We're doing water samples, air samples, flare, different things. And we're looking to continue that project. Typically, we do it on a yearly basis, but we figured it'd be much easier just to do a 3-year contract.
Other escalations of the contract, you know, since you're doing it for 3 years, you have protection on that.
I think the way we put it together was 3 years, so there wouldn't be any escalations.
Okay. Okay. Oh, annual 33,475, I see it. Okay. Any other questions?
Just one question, how long does this monitoring go on for?
We don't, not forever and ever, but it's a significant period of time. Eventually, we're gonna get to some position where there is no more methane gas or anything else traveling around the landfill. We would be able to stop completely monitoring. But right now, we still have active methane gas.
I was just curious as to, is this going to a charity or is there?
I mean, I've heard 50 years,
Yeah.
you know, 50 to 75 years. Just depends on,
When was it capped?
These are 20 years.
it was more than 20 years ago. I want to say like between 89 and 93 or something.
Okay. Thank you.
That's a
Any
yes,
questions?
sorry. No.
Motion?
Move the select board award the contract by post-closure and monitoring of groundwater and air quality at landfill at Driftway. Design bond for 3 years for an amount of $100,425.
Moved by Mrs. Canfield, second by Mr. Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye.
And you have one more thing, right?
It is, this is for landfill land monitoring as well as maintenance cost for the flare itself. So this is an annual contract also through SPS. That we've been using for another SCS for a long time. Do our landfill and monitoring of the flare.
The methane gas, right? See how much I've learned in the past 10 years?
What did you want to?
Interesting. It's all state mandated. Right. Yeah.
Yes, please. Oh, wait, did you have a question? No. Okay, Andrew, go ahead.
Move that select board award the contract about post-closure landfill flare monitoring services. For landfill to SCS Field Engineers of Taunton, Mass. 3-year contract for $101,800.
Moved by Mr. Goodrich, second by Mrs. Connolly, all those in favor? Aye. Kevin, thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'll stay up for the support, Nancy, on the next one.
Same late. Yep, they have all the surplus Vehicles,
So it's just declaring those, like, say that again? Just declaring surplus equipment so that we can auction it off and generate some, revenue with the general fund. We have a list of probably about 16 vehicles, please.
okay. Do we have a motion? Any questions? Sorry, I should ask any questions. Yes. No. These are all pretty old trucks, you know, aging from 1993. 1983. To 2010, they're probably gonna be looking some.
And this goes online somewhere, right?
Yeah, we have an online
auction.
Okay, perfect.
So if you wanna buy any old trucks, folks. go on.
Yeah. All right, motion?
Move to declare the attached listing of vehicles as surplus for auction.
Moved by Mrs. Conley, second by Mrs. Canfield, all in favor?
Aye.
Great,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening. All right, so we are moving along to new business. Discuss and vote one-day Walt.
Walton Mine licenses.
Maybe that's gonna be wine and malt licenses. We have a number of them here, number of, we want to take them all together, we've got several, some at the Maritime Center, most of them are at the Maritime Center, actually.
You like the motion?
Yes, yeah, we'll just do them all together.
Move to approve a one-day wine and malt license to Superior Service for a private event in Scituate Maritime Center on September 2nd, 2023, from 6 to 10 p.m. On September 9th, from 6 to 9:30 p.m. On September 17th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And on September 23rd, from 11 to 1:30 p.m. Also, move to approve a one-day wine, just as wine and beverages. But wine. Should we just do wine and
Just
malt?
say wine and malt.
Yeah, wine and malt, license to Cranberry Vine Catering for a private event at Maritime Center on September 2nd from 11 to 2 p.m. Also move to approve a Monday wine and malt beverages license to Simply Good Catering for a private event at the Maritime Center on September 3rd from 12 to 4 p.m. and move to approve a Monday wine and malt license to Rivershed for a private event. We did that one already, sorry about that. Move to actually, should we do it?
Yes.
Redo it, okay. To the Rivershed for a private event at 52 Oceanside Drive on September 22nd from 6 to 10 p.m. And finally, move to approve a one-day wine and malt license to Laney's Fish Market for a private event at 8 Allen Place from September 1st, 2nd, 8, and 30, 2023 from 7 to 11 p.m.
Second. Motion's by Mrs. Canfield, second by Mrs. Connolly, all those in favor? Aye. Right, and we also have drain layers renewal for EI Markets and Sons.
Move to approve a drain layer license renewal for EL Markets and Sons in Woodbury.
By Mrs. Connolly. Second.
Second.
By Mr. Goodrich. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So your executive board appointments. So have we, I don't think we had appointed anybody to the bicycle committee yet.
We have not.
All right, that's smart.
And that was 9 applicants, 7 positions.
9 applicants for 7 positions.
Correct. Do.
Well, as I said earlier, if there are 2 folks that don't get appointed, please do attend because there were some really great folks that came forward with some great ideas for this committee.
I would like to recommend Nancy Werner, because she was the catalyst for this connection. And I think that we could highly recommend her as our first appointee on that one.
Yes.
If I could mention, Michael Bowler presented us with a fairly detailed plan, if you will, of how to approach this. I think it was got very well done, and probably the most comprehensive plan that he was very comprehensive, so I agree.
Okay. I thought Sarah Doss, who came in this evening as well. We don't know, do we want to do this one by one, or do we want to kind of identify 7 and then just do them all together?
7.
Okay, so we've got 3.
I've got Daniel Hannigan also said the word grants. I was very excited about the magic word. 4, and Susan.
I mean, I can't speak, I wasn't here for some of the other folks, but I mean, John Elber and Elber, I know, so active around town. I know he's a workhorse. Seen it all the time. He's fabulous. I thought Jeffrey Helm's presentation, just knowing, was very strong. So that was really fine. But I can't speak to the others, but I thought they were fabulous.
I agree with John Elber, just as a community member, he's so well known and well helped together.
Okay. Susan?
I'm sorry, did we say John Jeffrey Helm, or was that Eric?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I'm sorry, yes, Andy said Jeffrey and
Oh, we
and
did
John,
both?
so.
Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, one more. I'll just point out a couple things that I noted. Tom Rose is a web developer, which might be a nice, attribute to have on the committee. And then Laura Ty talked a lot about creating the culture in town, and she for me was one of the first that kind of tied it really well. But anybody.
I trust you, right?
Darcy with the, bike safety, pedestrian, 4-foot law.
What did they were all good? They were all.
She was big on bike safety,
Which I think all of them were.
which they all were, the one that did the iron.
Oh, okay, yeah,
4 feet,
yeah.
educating, or at least that's my
Did you want to recommend Darcy then?
Oh, they're all good, that's the problem. They're not good.
Love them all.
We love them all.
Marcy was, Laura was also recruited by Nancy. Just in my notes.
Yeah.
Which is an educator. Okay, I know I would like that comments about that.
Yep, well, somebody make a decision. We'll move. But 1, 2, we got Jeffrey,
I think,
John,
Susan. you like-
Yeah.
What?
That's one I got.
Susan's
You
on here.
haven't recommended, you haven't.
All right, then I'll do, Maura.
Or Ty?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so do I have a motion to approve, to appoint Maura Ty, Michael Bowler, Nancy Werner, Sarah Doss, Daniel Hannigan, Jonathan Belber, Jeffrey Helm, to the Scituate Bicycle Committee for a term of 3 years or until a successor is named.
So,
Moved by Mr. Goodrich, second by Mrs. Canfield, all in favor?
Aye.
Did you get those, Michelle?
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys, that wasn't easy.
I'll make a bench.
I'm so sorry. Does someone want to read their motions to appoint, 2 folks for Veterans Advisory Council? So I believe we've got 2 openings.
3 new and 2 related candidates.
Move to appoint Chief Richard Wetter,
I think it's Wetter.
to Veterans Advisory Council for a term of 3 years or until successor is named. And also move to appoint Thomas Crawl to the Veterans Advisory Council for a term of 3 years until successor is named.
Moved by Mrs. Canfield, second by Mrs. Connolly, all in favor?
Absolutely, yes.
And move to appoint Russ Collins to the Council on Aging for a term of 3 years or until a successor is named.
Moved by Mrs. Connolly, second by Mrs. Canfield, all in favor? Aye. Okay, and some of these other ones are reappointments to somebody wanted this, not to, sorry. Somebody want to make a motion.
Well, we want to move to appoint Marcia Kett to the Scituate Agricultural District for a term of 2 years or until a successor is named.
Yes. Moved by Mrs. Connolly, second by Mr. Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye.
That's the Situate Agricultural District.
Yes. Move to reappoint Patrice May, Marie Flaherty, Jane Higgins Norton, Stephen Litchfield, and Michelle Sagasi to the Scituate Agricultural District for a term of 2 years or until a successor is named.
Moved by Mrs. Connolly, seconded by Mr. Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye.
And then we have Shellfish renewals, the appointments.
Move to reappoint T. Scott Connolly and Adam D. Sloan to the Shellfish Advisory Committee for a term of 3 years or until a successor is named.
Ann Poland.
No, she moved actually.
Oh, she did? Oh, okay,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Lorraine updated it.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Okay,
It's
pardon me.
Okay, second. So we're, okay, moved by Mrs. Connolly, second by Mrs. Canfield, all in favor?
Aye.
So you can get
The updated
Gotcha.
version.
All right, and then lastly, the master plan for implementation team. How often have you guys met?
We met a couple times and then we lost our
Momentum?
director of planning.
Well, and there's actually a lot going on to
Well, maybe we can
implement
get
the
an
master
updated
plan.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody's gonna call me.
Okay.
I don't know if the chair is, I'm not.
Who's the chair? Did you guys ever vote for one?
I believe it was,
Is it
Kyle.
Patricia? Who was it?
We just
Oh,
posted a meeting, I think it was Kyle.
all right, well, maybe we need to get the team together, back together. All right, do I have a motion to reappoint Jim Woodrow, Nancy Cole, Kevin Caffrey, Karen Joseph, Karen Connolly, and Patricia Lambert, master plan for implementation team for a term of 1 year or until the successor is named. Moved by Mr. Goodrich. Second by Mrs. Canfield, all in favor? All right, are there any liaison reports? Not this evening? Okay. Correspondence?
Oh, I have one update. Just you all might be interested, I know we talked about so Shellfish Advisory for the past 2 days. They've been relaying the 160 bushels of quahog up in the north and south river. So they did 80 bushels to the North River yesterday and 80 to the South River
Who does
today. So great question. It's Marshfield got the grant and got the paperwork with the amount, and then volunteers. So there were probably 12 to 15 volunteers, and volunteers from Marshfield and Scituate, as well as boats to carry the shellfish out. And they got some really nice weather and had a great time. And
We have a whole lot of refugees now in the north and south.
And they're being put in areas that would be open for shellfish in this season, which would be November 1st, so. And again, we have reciprocal licenses with Marshfield,
And
so.
we got them from places that shouldn't have.
We got them from like contaminated areas, but it takes 60 days for shellfish to wash, cycle through, so that was why they had to get it done soon because of our season opens. So fun, and a fun kid trip for everyone who loves bivalves.
Okay.
I
Anything else?
No.
Andrew, anything?
Right now. I think Cole Parkway, we're hopefully getting the RFPs responded to in a couple of weeks. So we'll have something ready for it.
Okay.
Maybe something, maybe nothing, who knows?
Maybe.
You don't know until you get them back.
True.
Did you want to do the Border Street?
Oh, you.
We passed the baton on that, I met with, the co-chairs, that's new too, right? Snow and Jim Follier, co-chairs.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and with the Gulf River Association, George Colbert, we were on the side this week, or last week, and the intent is for Concom to be one of two sites that they think would be appropriate for parking, to provide accessibility to the field and to the trails. And we'll make that recommendation, to this board, I guess, I guess. The funding for that piece of it, the Gulf Association at the same time, on that site is the rest of the check, there are maybe about $15,000. And there's a donation of heavy equipment that will be reimbursed to keep those costs. So we'll have an estimate of those funds, we'll figure that out. Their intent is phase 2 is they want to recommission of facilities to really think about ways to make the field have it, that it's truly accessible, even for folks.
That would be nice.
Excited that. So that will be, they're looking at grants for that, because that would be a phase 2, and that they want to cover as soon as possible.
Nice.
If I may, my recollection is that the Gulf River Association said they would pay the park. Right, and so we're getting the money, they're gonna pay the park. They're gonna, they're having a fundraiser in September.
Right.
So I just don't want to forget that. Yeah, no, they are. Because we didn't get the easement, I'm all sad about that, but the promise was made to the town that the Gulf River would pay the park. So Frank estimates, a little fun fact, I guess Cohasset is doing a milling project and has given them at least an indication that they might share, just like, I don't know if the Cohasset knows that's gonna happen. The DPW is mental to that, so we'll see if that happens. But Frank thought that, there should be adequate funds, but they won't know until they decide to do the estimate.
Quickly, correspondence, Susan, I know Jim already talked about the overdose awareness vigil.
Yeah, on August 31st, and that's at 5:30, so it's 5:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And then we got a sister city correspondence about a previous visit with the UK, the Council General, and Irish delegation on September 24th, and then also October 17th. Yeah, so upcoming some visits.
Welcome there.
Welcome them, yes. And that was all.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the minutes for the select board meeting held on August 8th?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Connolly, second by Mrs. Canfield, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the board will be moving into executive session and we will not be returning to a public session. Do I need to end the public session first? I can do this one first, okay?
Yeah.
So as chair, I declare that the select board move into executive session pursuant to purpose 3 of the open meeting law to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. And I declare that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the select board. In connection with this matter, the board will not reconvene in open session, and this matter concerns shellfish agriculture. So do I have a motion?
Move the select board go to an executive session pursuant to purpose 3 of the open meeting law to discuss strategy and respect for litigation and declare an open meeting and detrimental effect on negotiating position. Select board, you can actually snap it, or will not say that. This requires a roll call vote. I'm sorry. Oh, I
Moved by
do we have a
Mrs.
second?
Canfield, second by Mr. Goodrich, roll call.
Okay, Ms. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich?
Yes.
Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Ms. Conley? Yes.